crucial that, again, not only in Guam but even back in the States, supplies are short. But we're being diligent to go out there and find, disinfectant wipes. We're being diligent to go out and find masks, wherever we can find them.
So you guys are running into a shortage of these
I
sorts
think
of
everybody
supplies.
in Guam is running into a shortage. Yeah.
So are you going to have to make a decision at some point if you can't sanitize the buses, if you don't have PPEs for your bus drivers, that you can't provide the services?
Well, no, we, besides disinfectant wipes, we, according to, we have a list of items from the CDC that, that they approve for transit operators to use for sanitizing.
Right, and I asked that because, Sal, you guys are transporting, I see the buses that come through here in front of us that are transporting dialysis patients.
Right, that's correct, ma'am. As a matter of fact, Sabrina, even now, whenever a patient shows up who hasn't submitted an application to ride our paratransit buses, we still process their application so that we can accommodate them to get to their dialysis centers, the renal centers, because we just can't say no. You can't get a pass because you haven't submitted your application prior to COVID-19. We're still working with those who need medical support. Fortunately, we're able to provide that service because I tell you, it's been at least when I came on board, some of the horror stories that I hear about dialysis patients not being provided transportation to their dialysis, that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
So we're definitely making sure that we don't get back to that kind of mindset, Yeah, so again, it's just unfortunate that this COVID-19 is interrupting a lot of what we want to accomplish. Right. But we're buying buses. We're designing our facility. We're going to build our facility, and we've purchased a transportation management system that's going to certainly provide good customer service for our riders, because with that TMS, there's an app that riders can download. They can identify where the buses are at, schedule their buses on time. They don't have to use cash or tickets. They'll get a smart card that they can swipe whenever they board the bus. We're going to be able to at our transit management center. We're going to be able to know where these buses are at to make sure that the drivers are going to where they're supposed to be going. And then very important is the fact that we're going to be able to effectively manage data so that we can make better decisions and for reporting.
So we just want to fast forward to Rich Ibanez. What was the deal with hiring Rich Ibanez back?
Well, really, Chris and Sabrina, again, we with our purchase of the transportation management system and all of what we're going to be doing, we're going to, I can tell you right now that we're going to be making some big changes to our fixed routes, where we're going to make it an on-demand, a dollar ride type transit fixed route, where when you call, you're going to be able to get a ride within, rather than hour and a half, 2 hours, it'll be 30, 45 minutes, So we're going to be aggressively doing a lot of marketing to let people know about some of what we're doing with our transit operations, our transit system in Guam.
I'm sorry, so what is he doing? What is he doing?
Hold on, Sal. Don't deflect. I mean, look, they served you up. Let's just get it over with.
Yeah.
What is Rich Ibanez doing, and why was he hired back to Mass Transit?
Richard is going to be our marketing person, who's going to go out there and market GRTA. He's going to help us activate our transportation management system. Chris and Sabrina, when I came on board 10 years, GRTA was born, and nothing but 7 buses that were operational. And now we have 16 and more buses operational. We're doing bigger and better things. I'm going to make Richard work. He's not going to GRTA to just sit down and make a salary. He's going to be gainfully employed. And I can assure you that later on, mark my word, later on, you can come back to me and say, so what's Richard doing? we're going to do advertising on our buses. We're going to be doing advertising on our bus
Okay,
stops.
let's just wrap this up.
And he's going to be tasked to do all of that. And I'm
Okay.
gonna
That's
make him
fine.
accountable.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's
I
okay.
want to make him accountable. He's not going to just show up and
No.
whatever. But he's going to be gainfully employed.
Good. Hey, I'm so happy that you make that boy work. So
Oh, I will.
please,
I will,
don't let him
Even
slide.
though he really isn't working right now, because you shouldn't be advertising to
what-
ride
I mean,
buses.
so
at
what
this
is
point.
what is he doing now? So what is he doing now? There's no marketing going
now,
on.
Our activation of the transportation management system is ongoing. We're working with our contractors to work on our software. We're
Okay.
working on
Okay.
equipment.
Okay. So
And he's, yeah.
thank you.
But hey, Chris and Sabrina, really mark my word. In 6 months, come back to me and ask me what's he doing. And I can tell you, really, I'm being honest with you.
No, I know.
No. So we know you're not.
We
You're
know
not
you.
Yeah.
Seriously, but hey, man, come back to me in 6 months.
We will,
and
yeah.
I'll be more than happy.
Yeah. I just had to
Alright.
ask, so because there's so much other stuff going on,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to get you, and they told us you were going to call, and thank you just for answering that, and please hold him accountable.
I will.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
Okay. Thank you, Sel Bavalta, and thank you guys. I know your drivers especially are out here on the front lines. They're driving around our most vulnerable, Manumco, many of them who are living with these comorbidities that make them very susceptible to
Chris and
COVID-19.
Sabrina, I'm sorry for interrupting, Chris, but you know what? One of our drivers was already put in quarantine because of, So what I'm trying to tell you is that, man, despite all of these, our drivers, I'm so thankful for them. None of them have ever refused to come into work, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, hey, thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for your
no,
time.
thank you, Sel.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay, be
Sam,
safe.
Right on.
Thank you.
Sal Bavalta, the director of the Guam Regional
I really like
Transit.
Sal.
Yeah,
I really do.
I do. And
It's like,
yeah, that
no, he's a good guy.
I'm put on my
For-
calendar. Call you in
yeah.
6 months.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. Thanks,
No,
Uncle
yeah,
Sal.
and really, we talk about people out here who are holding this island up in the midst of all this. I think we have to thank the Regional Transit Authority drivers.
Yeah,
We see them. I mean, they're
everybody.
coming through. And people are going to dialysis. They're getting where they need to go, and they're doing that. All while
Unsung heroes.
right? Trying to pay attention to these social isolation orders and whatnot. Hey, Tomas Maglotnia is coming up. Tragic news out of the NMI. Bree, can we just go over the numbers again real quick from the Joint Information Center?
Joint Information Center, there are 121 confirmed cases of COVID-19 on Guam. I want to talk about some of what's happening at the Department of Corrections. A DOC recruit reported that a family member had tested positive for COVID-19. The employee was instructed not to report for duty and to self-quarantine at home. Then this was on Monday. The employee was tested for COVID-19, which came back positive. And, at the onset of this, we actually had contacted the Department of Corrections for an interview about what they were doing, or what they are doing to mitigate the possibility of COVID-19 entering the Department of Corrections. And so that interview is on our YouTube channel with Major Antone Uggan. I think he's a major now.
Yeah.
And explaining that. But in light of what just happened, we are trying to get the Department of Corrections Director Joe Carbolino.
Right,
So
so-
hopefully we'll be able to get him on.
Yeah,
at some
Joe
point.
Carbolino, he did commit to calling in the show. He asked for the questions in advance, and I know in how these directors work is I give them the questions, and they got to go send them down to Adelup,
Mhm.
Carlo Branch, or whoever is going to come up with the answers, and then we get them back. But let me just tell you on this DOC thing, this is something I don't think we can gloss over. If you look at the pandemic plans, and I'm sure Sean can verify this, in a situation like a pandemic or any type of mass casualty event, one of the first few things you do is you make sure that the prison is secured and locked down, because that's the type of environment where, you think the Theodore Roosevelt stuff can spread fast. DOC, I got a call from a family member last night, okay? We all have family members who are locked up, and this family member of mine called me, and he was very anxious because they all know, they have Facebook in DOC. They all got their phones. So they all saw the news about the Department of Corrections cadet testing positive. Now, What I don't think was in the release was these cadets, they're just not in like DOC corrections officer boot camp somewhere off to the side. These guys, they go through that OJT, that on-the-job training, where they're actually in the compound. And so this officer who tested positive, and, we don't know the name or anything, but I'll tell you what, the inmates, the detainees, they know who it is. And word travels fast. And so this officer was stationed at the Dome, according to my family member and a couple other people. And so now what we have is inmates and detainees. And, inmates and detainees, but not just them. We have our COs, our corrections officers at the Department of Corrections. Inmates and detainees with, they've got pre-existing conditions like my cousin does. And no hand sanitizer, no masks. We don't know what type of measures they're taking in there. And now that we have a confirmed positive case of a corrections cadet who is actually going out into the compound and working and coming into contact with how many people, and then we find out that DOC, it took them 4 days to figure it out, and then this cadet comes to work and tells the bosses that my child tested positive. In a situation like that, I just think we just need to say, and public health has said it, if you're in a situation where you've come into contact with someone who has tested positive for COVID-19, do not go to work. Do not go to work and be like, hey, everybody, my kid tested positive. How you doing? No. Stay home, self-isolate, call somebody. That's how this thing is spreading all over the place, because we're not taking the precautions that the governor and the public health people have been telling us to take. And so I hope that we can get the director on to talk about this. I mean, we'll try and get somebody, but first we need to go over the CNMI where they had some developments, very tragic developments yesterday. Tomas Maglotny is on the line. Good morning, Tomas.
Good morning, Christopher.
Hi.
Hi, so I just want to share some of the latest, as was reported in last night's newscast, the CNMI's morning its second COVID-19 related death. It's of a 77-year-old female CNMI resident, according to the CNMI governor. The patient had underlying medical conditions, and the deceased individual was seen at the Saipan Hospital on March 28th and admitted to the hospital where she was closely monitored. As of 5:30 p.m., there are still 8 confirmed cases, including those 2 deaths, and local media are reporting 10 pending results from off island. And some news on the economic front: the government is under pressure with the economic impact of the coronavirus. The Director of Personnel Management yesterday sent a letter to all department heads offering guidance on termination and furlough action for accepted service employees and civil service employees to reduce government personnel costs by 50%. In this letter, they estimate that the fiscal year 2020 budget for the CNMI is expected to be reduced by 48%. A listing of those terminated and furloughed employees is expected to be delivered anytime today. This news comes as the Department of Labor plans to implement the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance under the CARES Act. Brian Chris will also be speaking with the hospital CEO, Esther Munya, at 11 a.m. today live on KUM's Facebook page to get more clear answers on the exact future testing capabilities of the CNMI hospital, and more about the contact tracing and persons under investigation. So that's what we'll be working on later today.
Tomas, man, that is a mic drop is really not the best way to describe it, but these cuts, these are huge, and this is going to ripple throughout the community. What are affected people saying?
There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of frustration, and it's there's just no words to capture what the community's feeling here in terms of not only just the real impact of COVID, but also on the economic front. If we're being told to stay home, and folks are feeling not going to be able to put food on their table.
So people are going to find out today who's on this list?
Yeah, according to the letter yesterday, the list is the governor will be meeting with the different heads, and we'll be going through that list as well. And we know that the public school system also is expected to announce some cuts today, though that isn't clear. How many? I know the last report I saw out of the Department of Labor is that 4,000 private sector employees are currently unemployed in the CNMI, but we don't have the full numbers for the after this happens. We hope we hope to provide more, but also speak to those impacted and hear their experience.
You know, Tomas, I read that letter, and it just made me think about what we're going through here on Guam. Is that the governor in her press conference yesterday had one of the justifications she has for not providing local assistance with local funds is that she needs the money that she's sitting on to continue to run the government, to provide public services that are essential, and to keep paying the government of Guam non-essential employees who will continue to earn a full paycheck. And so in looking at what the CNMI has done, yes, it's drastic, and I don't think we need to do that on Guam, but I'm just wondering, do we need to start planning ahead? Because, people are whispering about how long we can sustain our own economic status. So I thought it was interesting that the CNMI governor, say what you will, this is a decision that I'm pretty sure
was not easy to make.
Was definitely not easy to make, but you guys were dealing with your finances before COVID-19 hit with you two and everything with the casino, and it's just tragic. And I only hope that our governor can look to your governor and figure out if we need to start doing things like a 72-hour paycheck, because Lord knows we don't have a lot of money, and it's going to be really bad when we hit a payless payday.
Yeah, and I also asked about how this all plays into the real health response that has to happen during this coronavirus. It takes money to run the quarantine facilities and do all of those protocol. And I asked the governor's office about a week ago about this, and they said the CNMI's revenue since February has been at a standstill. And they're working with the legislature and the CNMI judiciary to divert little existing funds into first responder work. And so I think, having planned to speak with the CEO of the hospital later this week, taking a look at how, this is also, the economy is also a public health issue in the case of being able to support, the efforts of containing the virus as well.
I did want to ask you about, there was a video that was on the governor's Facebook page last night related to retirees?
Yeah, that's correct. He sent a message to the CNMI government retirees in the public school system, explaining what has manifested in the past few days for his decision to suspend the retirees 25% from the government. And that's, of course, because the CNMI public school system's 3 board members filed that injunction to ask the court that they should pay the public school system's full 25% total revenue from the budget, which is mandated, by the letter of the law. So he in that video, I think it was about 7 minutes, released in both Chamorro and English. He was talking about how he, the way it was painted, it was either the retirees or the public school system. So I know a lot of people in the public have complicated feelings about that, and a lot of people are asking why not, why not? It's not a us versus them, but that was a very pointed letter, seeming to blame the public school system for asking for that money.
Wow. You got a lot going on over there.
Yeah. And you're also going to school.
Exactly.
Well, this is all, no one is a lot of people around the world are saying this doesn't necessarily discriminate. So, everyone's being impacted, and it's really just the hope that people can get support both in their health and finances during this time. I think that's not a irrational thing to ask for.
And the grab and go is that's been cut, and so what type of assistance is available there in the CNMI? Tomas, have we come to that point yet where your governor is telling people to apply for food stamps?
Yes, we do know that. Well, he didn't say that specifically, but we do know that SNAP is still running, and they're doing some processes there. But I've also, I mentioned a week ago, I'm talking to some of the nonprofits, and they're just inundated, especially now. And there's also a real question of if they're passing this from person to person, passing aid directly, how to manage that, the crowds that might be coming or have already came to their sites for food and other assistance. So hoping to get more on that. And I think Adriana was sharing with me there might be a house session later today in the CNMI, but we'll see if that happens and if we can see it. I'm not sure if this is if this is an official one or not, but there's going to be some sort of meeting. We just hope to get any word from the legislature. But I know we haven't heard from them other than what they share online right now.
Right. Okay, Tomas.
Thanks, Tomas.
Okay, thank
we'll
you
be
so much.
We'll be in touch,
right.
definitely.
And plus, he has the 11 o'clock interview with Esther Munoz, the CEO of the Commonwealth Health Corporation. That'll
Okay.
be streaming on our social media platforms.
Thank you so much, Tomas. Wash your hands.
Thanks, you too.
Stay safe.
Okay, all right. 743, Guam's favorite containing COVID. You know, can we go over, I just got a comment here. Hey, Chris, do you know if Dr. Cabrera's projections include the military's cases? They don't.
No.
No, they
absolutely
don't.
not.
Yeah, and I don't know the reason. I think it might just be as simple as they started working on those projections before this whole Roosevelt thing happened.
And I think somebody actually asked Rear Admiral John Manoni during the press conference about their trajectory, and he said he wasn't a numbers man, something like to that extent.
Yeah.
But I don't think they have. They're not included in our numbers. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Did you want to run something?
Yeah, so here's Admiral John Manoni. He was asked about the trajectory and the 173 COVID-19 cases on the Roosevelt and his thoughts on that.
I'm extremely pleased with the logistics effort. And remember, there are some significant challenges here in the Marianas Island that I don't think maybe are known as widely as they should be. One of them is it's a 12-hour flight from Washington, D.C., I believe, to Hawaii. Guam is another 7.5 hours from Hawaii. So when a ship like this pulls in, it's all hands on deck, both on the military side and the civilian side, to make sure we can do everything we possibly can to get ready for that ship. And then if they have an issue, we have to work doubly hard to make sure that we can work through that issue as a team. With respect to the trajectory, that is a doctor question, a medical question that I really can't answer at this time. I am, again, pleased with the efforts of the team on the ship as well as off the ship to take care of those sailors. And then finally, with respect to cleaning of the ship, that's ongoing. I'm assured that they have the supplies that they need on the ship to do that cleaning, and that both on island and off island in the greater military community, we're looking at potentially some innovative ways to do this better should we see other ships have this issue. I hope that answers your question.
All right, Admiral John Manoni. You know something I was thinking about yesterday? When did we ever have the opportunity to question the Admiral?
I know.
He's
made himself available.
Right. Somebody was talking to me about, and I think it was Father Paul yesterday, and he was saying that in all of this negativity that's going on, there are positives. Mm-hmm. And I think from a media perspective, that's one of them. I just wish we had more than two questions. I got to.
Yeah.
And so there was some more developments, crazy developments with this situation with Captain Crozier and Navy Secretary Modly.
Right. I don't know if you all had a chance to listen to the audio of when he was speaking with the Theodore Roosevelt sailors, but Acting Secretary of the Navy Thomas Modly resigned. He'd drawn fire for an address to the crew of the Roosevelt Monday in Guam. Modly had suggested that ousted Captain Brett Crozier was, quote, too naive or too stupid for allowing a memo to leak to the media, which Modly believed exposed the ship's vulnerability. The email message from the popular captain was a plea for help to stop an outbreak of coronavirus aboard his ship. Modly later apologized for those remarks, but not before a number of congressional leaders had called for him to step down, and President Trump said he would get involved in the matter. But during the press conference yesterday,
I was able to ask the governor. We're just going to pop up this clip of me asking the governor and the admiral. Off a day, Governor.
Off a day, Chris.
I just want to say you look absolutely lovely with your mask.
Thank you, Chris.
I just wanted to ask, I had a question for you and Admiral Manoni. Obviously a lot of people on Guam and around the world are talking about the comments made here on our island by Acting Secretary of the Navy, Thomas Modly. He was talking about Captain Brett Crozier. He said he was either too naive or too stupid to be in command of the Theodore Roosevelt. He also accused Crozier of committing a betrayal and creating a big controversy in Washington. I know earlier, I believe it was last week, Admiral Manoni had said that Captain Crozier had a moral obligation to inform his superiors about the conditions on the TR. So I guess my question for both of you guys is, Do you believe that Captain Brett Crozier is a COVID hero?
I don't know Captain Crozier at all. I think Captain Crozier was doing whatever he thought he needed to do. I really can't comment about, the military chain of command, the importance of following the protocol. I know that in any kind of military discipline and guidance, the military are very, very strict in making sure people follow protocol, people follow chain of command, because they need to do that in order to provide order and force out there in terms of our national security, and making sure that the vessel is nationally ready for national security and ready for whatever threats are out there. So I don't know Captain Crozier. I do know that everyone is just as concerned about this COVID crisis situation, and we all want to protect our people. We all want to protect our forces. We all want to protect our men and women, our children, and our manampo. And so if that's the definition of COVID hero, then that's the definition of COVID hero. I think all of us are COVID heroes. All the frontliners are COVID heroes. Everyone who's working very hard out there to be able to, safeguard our community and to be able to fight this battle. I don't know if that more than anything else could add on.
So I'm not going to comment again specifically on the Secretary's comments. Please feel free to contact the Secretary of the Navy's Public Affairs team. I believe what I said last week was, as commanders, we have a moral obligation to our mission. We have a moral obligation to take care of the people under our charge. I didn't say it exactly like that, but you get the point. I will tell you, and I want to foot stomp this, that there has been a massive level of effort on this island by both military and civilians, government of Guam, and local folks to get ready for and then try and help TR sailors as best we possibly can. I'm seeing every day people innovate, people work hard to make sure they break down barriers, people find out where the constraints are in any system that prevent any help getting to those sailors. What I'd like to also emphasize is that we're on the front lines and a leading edge of learning about how these viruses move through ships, and we're going to take what we learned here from a logistics, from a medical, from a protection standpoint, and apply that moving forward to help build capability and capacity here within the region should COVID-19 really become a problem. Thanks.
All right, there you go, Admiral John Manoni. That was kind of funny to me. It was funny because the simple answer is, yeah, he's a COVID hero. And it kind of, I don't know if it was just me and I'm reading too much into it, but it kind of seemed like the governor was really going out of her way to not make Admiral Manoni or the military uncomfortable. And she was like, I don't know the guy. I don't know, I don't know. They got to have order. And again, I don't know the guy, but, we're all heroes.
You're a hero.
And then Admiral Manoni, that was kind of like, I don't know, is there a school they go to where they can talk for a while and put words in sentences and it's... All right, Bree. Not the morning. So we have some other news.
Oh, yeah. We just saw this Standard & Poor's global ratings. S&P says Guam's debt rating outlook revised to negative on declining tourism pandemic-related challenges. S&P affirmed its BB minus rating on Guam's GO, general obligation bonds outstanding, and its B plus rating on Guam's appropriation. There's just a whole bunch of information that
right.
Maybe I'll have Nestor look at this.
Right, that's a Nestor thing, right?
Yeah, that's a Nestor thing. That's a whole lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
But we wanted to air something. We actually posted it yesterday on our Facebook page. Jason had a chance to interview Liz and Gina. They do their weekly segment, House to Home.
Right.
And one thing that's often been talked about is the word deferral and how you could get, your loan or your rent deferred.
Right.
But there are consequences to doing that. And so this is very important information for all of you out there that are listening or watching.
Good day, everybody. Jason Salas here with KUAM News, and I am joined by my friends Liz and Gina from Remax Diamond Realty for yet another episode of House to Home. And ladies, I really appreciate the two of you being here because we're all at home, as we should be. We're doing the smart thing. We're staying home.
Exactly.
We're practicing social distancing, and we are being responsible. And half a day to both of you. I hope you're both doing good with, the self-imposed quarantine, first of all.
Yep,
Half
we
a day,
definitely
Jace.
are. Half a day.
Okay, now one thing I wanted to bring the both of you in because it's of endless fascination to me is this whole concept of loan or rent payments and possibly even mortgages, right, being deferred. A lot of people are having questions about what that exactly means, and you were saying, like, from your perspective as realtors, there's a lot of misunderstanding about that concept, correct?
Mm-hmm. There definitely
Well,
is.
Yeah, I actually, I had a couple of, we handle a lot of property management units, and I had a couple of tenants call to ask. They wanted to know what, if they're going to defer their payment, what is that going to mean to them? So they asked, they're saying we don't have to pay rent for 120 days, so we're going to start paying our rent in June, essentially, right? April, May, June, actually July. So 4 months, 120 days takes us 4 months. So they don't, I think the expectation was we don't have to pay rent until August. And I said, yeah, you're correct. You can defer it. So you don't have to pay rent until August. But in August, you have to pay all of it. So if your rent is $1,000 a month, come August, you're going to be paying $4,000 for the last 4 months plus
Right.
August. So
Yeah.
that's $5,000. And so it was misunderstood because they actually, this particular individual actually thought, well, no, they're saying we don't have to pay it.
There's
No,
a
they didn't.
different
Yeah. So
There's a
so we
difference.
want to, yeah.
deferment.
Yeah, go ahead, Liz, because there is a distinction to be made between deferment
people
and being
think
waived.
there's a difference between deferring and waiving. Deferring just means you still have to pay. They're delaying the window of time for you to make payment. Waiving means you don't have to pay, period. So there is a distinction between the term waiving and deferring. So although they're deferring, what we're recommending people to do is it still piles up. So as Gina puts it, if your rent is $4,000, it's still due regardless. So if you can pay it, you might as well pay it, because once you've spent that money and come time for it to be due, you don't have the money, and it's more of a financial burden. Right now it's a burden. Right now it's a burden because people aren't working, salaries aren't coming in the way they're supposed to. So it's difficult for everyone at this point, but just bear in mind, not only is it difficult for the tenants, it's also difficult for the landlords. They still have mortgages to pay. Now, the governor did do an executive order 2020-7 that reflects that there is a moratorium on eviction. So if you don't pay your rent, you can't be evicted during this window of time. She also did a moratorium on foreclosures. But again, going back to the deferment, pay it if you can, but just know it is due. It will be due.
Okay, now Gina, I'd like to wrap with you on this final question. And is this, the banks obviously are being very gracious, and they're allowing some leeway with their lenders. Yeah, but this is bank specific, right? Some banks may say it's 90 days, other banks may say it's 120 days. So you have to check with your lender, correct?
You need to check with your lender. I think the guidelines that came out also had some wording in there on the mortgages, but check with each lender. And I would say right now, while we're all home, check with your lender now. Don't wait until you figure out that the tenants are not going to pay their rents. If you're a landlord who has your property as a rental unit, don't wait for that to happen before you let your bank know that you're not going to make the payment. just go ahead and apply for it now. If you don't need it, great, and if you do, you've already applied. Now, I just want to promote the idea that the stimulus money that the federal government is sending out, they're sending that out to help people pay these reoccurring payments, such as utilities and rent. So, if you don't know that come August you're going to have whatever if you're not expecting to have a windfall, more money coming to you in August, then try as best as you can to pay your bills. Because if you don't, come August, we're going to have a lot of people that are going to be awfully stressed, because all this deferment is going to come and hit all at the same time.
That's right.
And it's going to be a difficult problem.
Exactly.
And you can't count on that stimulus. Yes, they're saying they're going to send it, but just remember, you're dealing with the government. There is a process, and who knows, it could be 6 months down the road before anybody gets anything, and maybe even longer. So you can't.
Let's hope not.
Well, ladies, we do appreciate the fact that you and sharing this information has made everybody's life just a little bit more stressful. And if we can just do one thing as we wrap up the segment, make everybody's life a little bit happier by just waving goodbye to all of our viewers right now.
Stay safe, stay healthy, stay inside.
Stay healthy, stay home.
Stay inside, wash your hands, everybody. We'll see you next time for House to Home. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right, girlfriend Jason Salas there. Yeah, that's a real conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We keep hearing this word deferral, and I mean, we knew it's not a forgiveness or a waiving.
Yeah, you're still gonna have to pay it,
and that's a bridge that we're all gonna have to cross. I mean, it's not just one or two people. There's going to be thousands of us trying to cross that bridge. It's 8 o'clock. Something that we talked about a little bit earlier in the show is the situation at the Department of Corrections. I know you have that release, Bree.
Yeah, a Department of Corrections recruit reported that a family member had tested positive for COVID-19. The employee was instructed not to report for duty and to self-quarantine at home. Then on Monday, this past Monday, the employee was tested for COVID-19, which came back positive. In an abundance of caution and pending further investigation, the acting director of corrections, Joseph Carbolito, ordered that all 38 recruits that may have had contact with that recruit that tested positive self-quarantine at home. The temporary absence of the recruits will not significantly impact DOC operations.
All right. And so we have Major Anton Uggan on the line. Major, good morning, Major.
Good morning, Chris.
So I guess just right off the bat, we had heard, maybe you could just start by telling us, so with these cadets, they actually go into the compound and work, right?
Yeah, the cadets are currently they're at the phase of their training where they do OJT.
Okay, so they're doing on-the-job training, which means that they're at DOC working. Inside
the compound, working with the inmates and the detainees. So I guess just right off the bat, what we're worried about is, have you guys learned of, or has public health been able to do any trace investigation on this cadet who tested positive, who we understand was working at the Dome?
Well, of course, there are the directors working with public health to whatever their protocol is in regards to testing. So this particular officer, recruit, again, as the press release says, he had called in and just reported that a family member of his had tested positive. So rather than coming to work himself, we told him, do not come to work. Go ahead and stay home and self-quarantine until you're able to get yourself checked, which he did. And he called back and let us know a few days later that he had tested positive. But he had already been away from the compound for a few days already, prior to him even reporting his status as far as the family.
How many days, Major? Was it 14 days?
No, it was just his regular days off, and he was scheduled to report back to work from his day off, and then he informed us that a family member had tested positive. So again, erring on the side of caution, we said, okay, don't come to work until to get yourself taken care of. And so he hasn't been to work since.
Can you tell us, this officer and just other cadets, I guess, in this cycle, if you could maybe describe the type of contact and interaction that they have while they are performing their duties inside the compound, supervising the inmates and the detainees.
Well, again, right now we're still looking into it, but we don't believe that this particular recruit had contact with all the recruits because they're all spread out to different shifts and different areas of the department. So it's possible he did not come in contact with all of them. We're not together, but being that they are recruits, and at times they may have come together as a group like recruits do, but we don't think that happened at this time. But again, because the information just came in, and the director thought again at the time, hey, let's not take any chances with this. Let's make sure all the recruits don't come in for now until we can sort it out and go through the process and see who he may or may not have had contact with. And so that is ongoing right now. They are working on that to figure out who he had contact with and who he did not. Mm-hmm. But again, you just want to err on the side of caution. So the director just said, you know what, let's get all of them out. So even our training officers were told also to stay home.
Wow. So, I mean, what are we thinking about the amount of exposure? Because you talk about cadets. I mean, I know it's routine for these guys to pull a long shift to maybe go and have some beers or something after work. So there is that interaction.
Well, all the staff already been informed regarding the governor's executive order and social distancing and not having gatherings. All the officers have been informed. The director even put out a memo to that effect. And prior to all of this, we have already issued all our staff masks and gloves. And so there were already instructions in place before this case incident that all the officers are wearing masks. So all these officers that were on duty, even the recruits, at all times were wearing masks and had gloves prior to any of weeks before this even came about.
Mm-hmm. The dome, is that pretrial detainees or is that inmates?
The dome usually is our parole violators, our contempt of court violators, and some local detainees. Yes.
Okay, so these are individuals that would come in and out of the.
Have the other cadets been tested, Major?
Not necessarily come in and out because for the past couple of weeks we have not transferred anybody from between the facilities.
Well, detainees that are arrested and they go in, right?
No, when they first go in, they go to Agana.
I see.
And so in Agana, we have a separate area for them. And recently, the courts have been doing a very good job of getting them released. So we haven't, and then our daily booking has gone down dramatically compared to the pre-COVID. We probably might get 2 to 5 people, whereas before we were getting almost 20 people in a day. So it's gone down. Mm-hmm. Our overall population compared to the pre-COVID is down, and again the courts are doing a good job as trying to keep them out and having them released on third party or conditional release.
Right. Are you stopping the detainees that are in Agana or people that are being arrested? Are you stopping them from going to Manilao now?
Yes.
Okay, that's stopped as of yesterday or as of Monday.
No. That happened when we put out that first. When we stopped visitation and on all the other, our first phase, when we stopped visitation and incoming and all that's when that went in effect. The only way they would move from Agana up is if it's of a great security nature of why it has to be done. Right. Mm-hmm. And that is only at the approval of the warden when there's no other option available. But again, they are making sure that we're not moving people up to Manilao. Anyone that is moved up, they are checked. If they have to be moved up, they will be checked and ensure that they don't have a fever and all the other symptoms related to COVID.
Major, have the other cadets been tested? The cadets in this cycle?
I don't. I know we've just told them to just stay at home and self-quarantine for now. I don't. As far as the testing, I'm not sure. They're gonna. Some of them have went to their doctors, or going to their doctors, or in contact with their medical. But I don't think any of them had been tested. Again, if they show symptoms, then they would probably be tested. But my last conversation yesterday with the training officer, none of them have reported any symptoms. or at this time. So
Yeah.
What about the detainees or inmates? Are any of them showing signs or symptoms?
No, not at this time. We did our medical staff, and again the director and the warden and the management have put out guidance to the officers. If anybody does show symptoms or then we are to inform medical right away, so that proper care can be given and whatever is needed to be done.
Do you guys is the infirmary up and running? I mean, how many rooms do you guys have there?
Yes, we have a clinic. It's on site, so we have nurses on duty at the Manila facility, medical staff from GMH here. We also have medical staff in Agana that are on duty down there, also from GMH. So we have our in-house medical team.
Right. Major, but there's no hand sanitizer or any other type of protective gear available for inmates and detainees, right?
But other than the cleaning supplies, Chris, we've given the units cleaning supplies. We put the bleach in some bottles and spray bottles, and we're getting our supplies. Of course, we have to be mindful of the limitations that we have, but every unit is equipped with bleach, and they wipe down all the furniture and all the other areas. The officers all have masks and are giving gloves. And again, there's mandates in place that if they are caught not wearing the mask and the gloves, they will be disciplined.
Right. I know, but Major, I'm sure you're aware that even with all these mandates in place and whatnot, we still had somebody pop positive for COVID-19.
Yes, I mean, we are, doing the best we can, but, hopefully, the longer this thing goes on, the possibly greater chance of it entering our facility. But we are taking all measures we can to try to prevent that as best we can.
How concerned are you guys, Major, about an outbreak in the corrections facility? I don't know if you heard, I have a family member up there, and they called me last night. They told me the inmates all know. They saw the news in whatever way they saw it. They know that this cadet was at the Dome, and, they're worried. They're worried that this thing could spread. I mean, this is like Theodore Roosevelt, but worse. So how concerned are we?
Do you guys have a plan to address that?
Yes, we are working on a plan. We like I said, we instituted some measures, and we're working on additional measures if need be.
Right, because you would have to have like an isolation location. I mean,
do you have all that in place?
A lot.
Yes, we have those areas of where we would place them in the event they show symptoms, not necessarily COVID, but just coughing and high fever.
Yeah, and there's a lot of prisoners over there that have pre-existing conditions, and I know because when we did the tour, the clinic was talking about how they've got to deal with all these, diabetes, a heart condition. I mean,
yes, it is. I mean, it is a concern. Like I said, the director and the deputy director are taking this very seriously, and it is a concern. And again, we're doing everything we can within our power to prevent it from entering our facility.
Or mitigate it at this point.
Or mitigate it. Yeah. It is a challenge, and this is even not just with our prison, but just prisons across the country.
Right.
This is something that is a serious concern.
All right.
Hey, are you guys getting the hazardous pay? I just want to make sure you guys are getting that.
Well, we're getting our regular hazard pay. I know the governor signed an executive order regarding additional hazard pay, but I don't know how that works. They're still working out the specifics on that, but we will continue to come to work and do what we have to ensure that the facility is kept safe and the inmates are safe and the officers too.
Okay.
Thanks, Anton.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that you guys are working on a plan, so be safe out there.
God bless you, Anton. Wash your hands.
I am. I'm wearing, even me, I got mask on, I got mask, and I'm in a private office, but I still have my mask and everything on all the time.
Mask up. We got to set the example, Major.
Mask up.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, be safe.
Okay, be safe. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Right, wow.
Probably nothing.
Do they have a plan, or are they coming up with a plan?
I think you're working on it.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough. Tough. Something we're going to have to go back to. I was thinking is... With the legislature, is Vice Speaker Tolina still overseeing the prison, or is it back to Senator Pito?
I don't know.
I don't know. You would think we'd hear from one of these guys. Maybe they're concerned about it or something. 812. Let's go to the phones. We have Minority Senator Jim Moylan on the line. Good morning, Senator. Wanted to get you on. I don't know. Are you protesting again this morning?
Hello, Senator Moylan. Are you there?
Hi. Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Good. Right on.
Still protesting, or you're good?
Yes.
You
No.
are.
This morning I will be protesting at 9:00. So we do have a session scheduled tomorrow for 10:00, and it will be at Session Hall. And I think we're going to practice our distancing and have our gloves on and our mask as well, and our own microphones too. But the reason I'll be out this morning is to emphasize what I've been trying to point out, taking care of those that are unemployed. So we can have session, but what bills are going to be heard is uncertain. So there's an attempt to bring up different bills. That's possible. And we know there's probably going to be bills that are pressing that support what the governor is trying to achieve with her executive orders. But my protest will be, let's remember those that are unemployed in the private sectors, the now 7,000 and unemployed, and another 7,000 that have lost their hours. So it will be one more day of protest.
One more day. Have you received the agenda yet?
No, I have not received the agenda.
When do you guys usually receive the agenda for session? Is it usually
for the minority? My experience is when I sit down behind my desk.
Oh, okay. Because I was just reading the.
How about if you're in? When do you get the agenda if you're in?
I was reading.
I'm sure way before I do.
I was reading the letter. Actually, this is reiterating the March 27th letter from Senator Regine Pisco-Lee. And it says, talks about requiring advanced submission of all amendments.
Yes.
In advance of the start of session. So, having read that, would it be safe to assume that you would be getting an agenda, so you would be able to submit your amendments to whatever bills are going to be discussed on session?
Yeah, that's a logical assumption, and I would think that should be correct. I don't have an agenda as of now, but I'm just reviewing the bills that were submitted and kind of predicting which ones will get to the floor based on who introduced the bills and how many people are supporting the bills and how it relates to what the governor wishes to see for her request to now have the legislature come into session, which we were premature before, but now I guess we are not. So based on what we're hearing on the media, and thank you for all your reports, and what we're seeing coming out of Guadalupe and the new bills that we're seeing being introduced, you can kind of have an assumption of what will be on the floor. So our office is preparing our amendments to make that happen. And as soon as we do, I'm sure we'll let you know the changes that we'd like to see done to different bills, if those are the ones that do make it to the floor.
What's the conversation like, Senator? Because if you guys are going into session tomorrow, I'm pretty sure you've got a lot of your colleagues who are fighting to get their measures onto the agenda. What has the discussion been like? Are they getting the time of day, or does it appear that we're only going to get called together to give the governor more superpowers?
Yeah, those are internal meetings that I am not welcome to or haven't had an invitation to. So just like you folks, I'm sure we're assuming different bills that will make to the floor.
What do you think, though, Senator?
Probably 334 regarding making it a misdemeanor for not enforcing the executive order and the charge of $5,000 and possible imprisonment if they don't follow the executive order, giving that authority, which the governor does not have today, to her to enforce these things, as she was advised by the Attorney General's office, and therefore the governor is saying need the legislature to come in and do legislation for that purpose. So that bill was already introduced, and possibly 335 also regarding the purchasing and the procurement of supplies and taking over different things if the governor so needs it for the safety of the people, which some of the parts of the bill are okay, but I can see where, because of our fundamental rights also, I'm not in agreement with. I can understand where
Right.
we need
Senator,
to,
sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
but just real quick,
Yeah.
speed trap at DMV. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, all right, which is a speed trap, and that and that is interesting. We can start already enforcing just by the laws that we have in place today.
Yes.
You got a cracked windshield, your tail light is out, you're speeding, you ran a stop sign. It's amazing. We used to hear these reports before this COVID-19 came out, just pulling over people regularly for
Right.
these simple traffic stops. There's an open container. There's
Crack pipe.
on the floor.
Yeah.
Right. It's all there. And then for those that just made a simple, I did a California stop instead of a full stop, but I got pulled over. And what the police, our GPD, is doing now, which I think is an excellent job, reminding them if it's not necessary for you to be on the road, then please go home. And here's why. Versus the Gestapo way and let me see your papers and
The papers, please.
Yeah, right. And so that's not what I'm in favor of. I think the education part is very helpful. It's surprising that some folks may still not understand the social distancing part. But if you're pulled over in a car and the police officer tells you it's better you go home than stay on the road because of this, that kind of instills a more sense of urgency to, maybe I'll do it because I don't want to get pulled over again. Or I got this one ticket because my driver's license is expired and I don't have current registration or insurance. I don't want to get another ticket for the same thing, right? So it would instill something into us to really just pay attention to the law, which we're supposed to do anyways, rather than having something, a $5,000 fine, a misdemeanor, and the possibility of going to jail. Because we know we can't afford something like that. And we don't want to overburden our prisons with that either. But at the same time, we just want to really emphasize to the public to stay home. And it's costing the government so much money for everybody to stay home as well. And with the greater emphasis, maybe they'll get the point. So that's what I'm thinking in line of. Not additional removing of people's fundamental rights, but just enforcing what's already on the books. And I think that's a good idea. They're out there doing the stops, the speed point checks, and reminding people what they should do, and that stay home versus Gestapo papers, please.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm wondering now if, and I'm going to play a clip after we get off the phone with you from the governor about the omnipresence of the Guam Police Department. You know what I'm kind of wondering now, Senator, is if the governor is already getting creative and telling her cabinet, namely the chief of police, what she needs to be done. And, the chief of police, I'm pretty sure it's a two-way conversation where he's saying this is what we can do. I'm kind of wondering, are these measures that the governor is really haggling on the senators to pass, if they're even necessary, if the governor's already using the authority that she has to get creative and they can't do a checkpoint, but for all intents and purposes, when I play this clip, they are doing checkpoints. So.
Right, and citing you for what's currently on the law.
Right.
Broken tail light, expired this, speeding. Those are good things, and that should continue even after we get past this point, and to make our roads safer and people be aware that the police are out there enforcing the laws that makes our community safe.
We got to ask you about. So I know that you, the Speaker, and Senator Mary Torres were in this conference with Congressman Michael San Nicolas. He floated out the two plans, the public and the private, which I thought was good in that we haven't seen a lot of plans to get local assistance. So I appreciated that, but it looks like when the Speaker and then maybe ran these plans up the flagpole, the banks and the retirement fund were essentially like, oh hell no. Mm-hmm. So is that dead in the water, Senator?
We did receive responses from the retirement and also the banks. And at the time when the congressman did invite us, and the reason he invited the three of us was we were on the last conference call with him.
Right.
Which was Friday, right, at 1 o'clock?
No, there was the one before that, I think.
I thought it was Friday at 1 o'clock. That's what tell us. But go ahead.
Yeah, at 1 o'clock. There was one at 1 o'clock, right. And so he just extended that invitation to us again.
That was kind of weird, don't you think? I mean, here you are, you're always talking about how you're not included in everything, and then you go to a press conference where the other people aren't being included in it.
Right? It's like, wow, I feel special this time. Thank you.
Is that what it is with you and Mike? He makes you feel special?
It's like, oh, wow, thanks.
There's a back rub, Senator Jim.
I finally got picked before the end of the line to be part of the team. Nice. but so I appreciated that, and I did ask some questions, but I saw those as thinking outside of the box,
right,
and which I didn't consider. And so I appreciated that. At least that was a couple of new ideas that we can look at.
Yeah.
We had no advance notice of what he was proposing.
Right.
And so we took our notes and then we vented it. And he's right. It's like, I didn't or the congressman is correct. I didn't go out and research all this. I got to focus on being a congressman. But this is something you guys could check out.
Right.
If it works. If it doesn't,
And that's what I'm thinking, Senator, as if it was just as simple as that, like, hey, this is something you guys can check out. I don't think the grandstanding really matched. Now people are saying, oh, there was an over-promising. But just real quick, so now that we had the main players in the game have said, we don't want to play this. This is not how we play. Is it just dead? Are we still going to try and get the Guam Banking Association, the retirement fund, because I'm hearing that the Guam Banking Association voted unanimously to reject the congressman's proposal. So is it just done, or are we on to the next?
Are we going to tomorrow during session? It's going to be.
Is there going to be like a surprise? Hey, guess what? Retirement
waive
fund.
Public hearing requirements.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want to introduce a bill that wouldn't have the support of either side necessarily, right?
Sure.
I can see that they were just trying to, if it wasn't in, let's say from Adelup, if it's not in their interest, then maybe that's something else. But it's those that we're asking to, here's a law, here's a bill, and you can implement this, and they're telling me already the reasons that it's not going to work unless you do this, and
right.
this. Well, then I should address what their issues are, provide that support, and then introduce it.
Yeah, but I think in this case, what they're saying is like to even begin addressing it, it would take way longer than the federal systems would already be.
There's no software,
right?
To be able to do
and hopefully
the
by
volume.
that time, through the diligence of our local agencies,
right.
DOL and DRT, we'll have that federal money coming in by then. So
right.
It was an idea, and we looked into it, and at this point, it doesn't seem to be working. It doesn't seem to be the exact answer.
Right. Yeah, but you know what, Senator, ideas grow on trees, and I know the congressman has a lot of ideas. So, and you and your colleagues, I mean, ideas all day. So, there's more where that came from. But right. Just wanted to put in a plea here on behalf of my media partner, Sabrina. I know you have a good relationship with the congressman. This time of COVID-19, whatever differences he has with KUAM News. We feel that we are bringing the biggest audience out here, and that's because we're getting the information out. And we just know you're close. If you could just get in the congressman's ear and tell him get over it. This is a time of crisis. This is a time that we need to come together. And if he has plans or ideas or information that he wants the people of Guam to know, then he has to come to a place that has the biggest audience. And it's not, just tell him, get over it, put on his big boy pants. And if he needs, if he wants a platform, my God, Senator Moylan, we will clear the way and we'll let him on the air and let him say what he's got to say. I mean, after he says that, he might have to answer some questions, which I think is what he has a problem with. Yeah. But hey, you're here, aren't you? Are you alive? Did you die? No.
Right.
And I think I spoke with you the night before the Zoom conference.
Right. Right. And it's just awkward because we're cool, right? And it's just weird when you're cool with people and you have mutual
acquaintances.
Cool. Yeah. So we're like talking through you to Congressman, and then with Senator Mary Torres, who is the Congressman's brother's mother-in-law. We had reached out to her and said, "Hey, how do we get in this Zoom?" And she was like, "Oh, you got to call the Congressman."
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys got pull, I mean, it's frankly, it's ridiculous. And this is the last time we're really going to ask because I think this is a time where we got to put all this petty bull crap to the
Aside.
side. We really do. And the congressman is doing things in D.C. that we think the people need to know about. So I'm just going to stop here. Just get over it. So call him up and tell him get over it, Mike. It really is to his benefit, and it's to our benefit as well. So
to the people's benefit.
yeah,
I tried calling.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I
and
could
they were
have
just
done.
rude.
WhatsApp.
It was just rude.
Even to the point where it was about to begin, and I kept calling, and all they did was hang up on me.
Yeah.
Like
and,
not
and,
even
and Senator, that's how serious. And Sabrina, I know you don't really want to talk about this, but that's how serious she is about her passion to get the people the information they need to know. I mean, in a normal situation, any other reporter would be like, you know what, screw the congressman. Oh, he doesn't want to call. No, but she was up to the last minute calling the congressman's staff. They were declining her call. She called about 20, 30 times, Senator. 20 to 30 times. And you mean to tell me that the congressman is that petty that he is going to sit there and tell his staff to ignore KUAM? It's just really, really, man, this time that we're going through right now, that's just so uncalled for. And I don't know how he finds the energy to be so petty. So that's all.
Oh, all right. And I pretty much probably say, just like myself, there's ears everywhere. So I think your point was well taken and heard. All the way as far as the East Coast. So,
oh wow!
Yeah, so I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure ears are listening,
right.
And your request is probably there.
Okay.
Whatever reasons there are, I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
But I do want to support you folks and what you're doing, and I appreciate the information getting on out there.
Yeah, we're cool. All right.
And I think that's pretty good.
Well, good luck, and
good luck.
Keep us posted.
All right. All righty.
Okay, well, Senator.
God bless.
Enjoy your protest. Wash your hands.
All right, I will.
He's saying.
There you go. Republican Senator Jim Moylan, who has been protesting the last few days. There was a picture I saw in the speaker's chat, and the speaker, the minority, they've had their share of issues and differences, but it was a picture of the speaker, Tina Munoz Barnes, meeting with Senator Jim Moylan outside the Guam Congress Hall while he was protesting about the legislature's inaction on unemployment assistance. She was bringing him a glass of water.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was like, aw. Yeah, you want to show that, sir?
Make sure there's nothing else popping up there. What else is there? That's the picture.
Isn't that cute?
That's cute.
So we talked with Senator Moylan about the governor getting creative with the authority that she does have, and I wanted to play this clip about the Guam Police Department and what the governor has asked the chief of police to do to help mitigate people driving around going crazy.
Provide guidance and provide education to these drivers, Kevin.
Problems?
Yeah, it's
Rusty.
I'm not rusty. This is the internet.
So yeah, I think one of the questions was from a reporter asking what was going on with police, pulling over people. I don't get out much. I only go here and back to work, so I'm not sure what's going on. I don't see any police officers.
That's how it should be.
Pulling
you know
over
what I mean?
people.
So you do that, and I do that. I go from here. I mean, the only place I stop on the way home is either stop at Payless Mangilao or 7 Day, just to kind of get a couple things, and so I haven't seen this omnipresent force, but I agree with it. I think that, and I kind of want to pat the governor on the back for getting creative and figuring out what she has to do. And I like that she's not just putting it on. I mean, she kind of is just putting it on the senators, but I like that she's putting it on the senators, but she's also finding a way to fill the gap. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And ironically, after that press conference, later on, sometime I got a release from GPD that they're conducting a DWI checkpoints starting the 9th through the 30th. Through, Agana, Barragata, Tumon. I mean, I'm not sure people are out, drinking and partying, but, they are doing these DWI checkpoints to ensure.
But you know what I think it is?
Safety.
I think that they're setting up these DWI checkpoints as a way to catch the traffic and to then, when they
check
do the
people.
checkpoint,
what are you doing?
Yeah,
you should be at home.
Yeah.
So
And
get
that's
ready
good.
for that. You
Right.
should stay home anyway.
Let me ask you, Bree, so if we're going to be doing that, do you think it's necessary for these senators to jump through the hoops and pass like $5,000 penalties and all that stuff? Or do you think, or even the curfew measure? I mean,
I think, but people are being stupid and they're still
Yeah,
out there in the
yeah.
community. I mean, I'm more concerned about bills that are going to help people while they wait or while we wait for federal assistance. I think that's more immediate.
yeah.
People are going hungry. We hear about it every day. Our phones blow up with messages, and all we can tell them is to go apply
Yeah.
at public health or call phone numbers, call 311, and then then we get the phone calls that no one's answering. So
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. With the governor, we keep asking this question. I have a feeling they're about to kick Nestor out of these press conferences because he asked again yesterday and he was very, very impassioned. And he
I
said,
asked, you asked, Nestor asked, and
right,
all the other
media
reporters
are
have
asking.
asked.
Yeah, and the steady response from the governor is go apply for food stamps. But what we're hearing is
she's got to balance, all of this, like holding on to money to keep the government running.
yeah.
But it's kind of crazy when you look and you hear about what's happening in the CNMI, where they're going to release a list today
Right.
on who's going to get furloughed in the government there.
I mean, that's reality, and I think, are we even looking at that reality yet?
I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know. And some senators are trying to get an accurate picture of where we're at. But hey, it's 8:30. We're going to take a break. Dr. Peter Lombard is coming on. We're going to talk COVID-19 and get the results again from the Joint Information Center last night. 8 new positive COVID-19 cases, which brings our total now to
121.
Okay. And Dr. Lombard's on the way. Also coming up on the show, we're going to talk with Legislative Health Chair Senator Teresa Terlahi. Wanted to get her on to talk about ventilators and tax refunds. And, probably might get something on the session, too. And then 9:30, we're really trying to find ways for you to relieve stress, to deal with anxiety. And we're going to get Claire Calvo from Synergy and to do a little talk about meditation.
Yeah, and he's really excited about it.
I'm so excited. Too excited, maybe, because she's going to walk us through some exercises, and I'm down for like a full hour of meditation. If you guys are, I think we should just all meditate for an hour.
And calm down. Yeah, if you're especially if you're watching us at home on Facebook.
Right.
Join in.
I also want to say, I think we can talk about the show moving to a new platform this week. No? Okay.
Soon.
Soon.
Soon we'll be making an announcement.
Still figuring it out, okay.
Hold on, homie.
It's 8:35, containing COVID. Good morning.
KUAM News Updates are brought to you by McDonald's of Guam. I'm loving it.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's, offers fully covered loading and unloading area with individual pin-coded gate and door access. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Friends and family, Malolo, Moleso, the South, stay strong. 842, it's containing COVID. KUM News Takeover, Guam's favorite I-94. Thank you and good morning to our Facebook Live listeners and viewers. I'm going to try and get to the comments in a little. It's just been a crazy, every morning has been a crazy morning. I had a call from a lady who And people are still thinking about this. Do we have to have these placards if we drive around because of what the governor had announced? That's not happening. But you know what? I told her, I said, you don't need to be driving around. Just stay home. And again, like we've been saying all week, while the governor may not have the authority, we the people have the power to kill the curve. And someone who's been studying that curve, Dr. Peter Lombard, we want to bring him onto the show. Doc, very into the stuff you post on Facebook, and I'm curious. So we had the one positive yesterday, from the night before, and then the latest results, 8 more cases. How does that figure into how you're crunching the numbers with COVID-19 on Guam?
Well, it's definitely a little reassuring, and thanks for having me again, by the way. It's reassuring from the standpoint that the big spike we saw, I guess now 2 days ago, it looks like hopefully that was more of just an anomaly, a little bit of noise in the data, especially if some of those positives all came from a couple clusters or a family or two. And that's extremely reassuring, because that could have been a very bad sign that we were definitely heading for much more of an exponential phase of this of the epidemic here in Guam. So right now, over the last 7 days, our growth rate's been fairly steady, bouncing between maybe 9 and 11%. And that's really good news. I mean, if we were in a growth phase, it's hard to imagine how that 7-day rolling average could stay the same. And if we were going to increase, and that spike a couple of days ago was reflecting that, I think we would have seen a little bit more activity out there, even in the last couple of days, even though we didn't test as many patients the day before.
Right. That's what kind of worries me, Doc Lombard, is that we're not doing a lot of testing. So I kind of feel that we haven't yet got a real grip on just where we're at with COVID-19 and the community. But, with the number of tests, we've done like 600 some, I believe.
Yeah, but the thing about that is the hospitalizations and the ICU patients, they're the really critically sick ones. These patients, they can't hide. Well, they can if they get sick and they die in their house, but even then, I think they'd be able to do some, even maybe in a retro clinical diagnosis, if they talk to the family and they determine, hey, this sounds like this patient died of COVID in their home. But we're not hearing of that happening. And
right.
If somebody's sick enough and not breathing, and having trouble breathing, and they need oxygen, they need hospitalization, not necessarily ICU care, but if they need hospitalization, and as much as this is out there in the media, I just have a really hard time thinking that anybody that needs hospitalization is sitting at home. So if you look at the studies and it shows 20% of all positives should be coming into the hospital, and you look at our hospitalization numbers, we're just a little bit too low. I mean, in a good way, we're too low to say that we're entering this exponential phase, and it's been fairly flat too. There hasn't been a whole lot of variation in our numbers. It's not going up, So if you're looking for good positive signals, that's definitely one of the most positive signals that we have here. It's not to say we're not going to stay and keep doing what we're doing. And if a cluster happens, it can definitely set us back. But I think that as long as public health is doing a nice job with their tracing, we can squash the little surges and the little clusters and little sparks that might be happening in the community. And that's what we have to hope for in the long term. You start thinking about the end game here, and these. The second phase of all this, it's the ability of public health to quickly and effectively and aggressively squash any new little spark that comes up if we want to hope to try to restart our economy here.
Right.
I was just going to say, we had spoken with you before the trajectory was released, I believe, before Dr. Felix Cabrera presented his report.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get your reaction to the trajectory.
That the Physicians Advisory Group had presented to the island.
Yeah, I've had a chance. They've been very they've been awesome, by the way. Dr. Cabrera, Dr. Cruz, they invited me over to talk to them and to take a look at their models. And I completely agree with the approach that they have. By the way, they're using validated statistical models that look at infection and how it spreads in the community. The only issue is that these models make certain assumptions, and they have to. And all models are wrong, and some of them are useful. And there is some utility to modeling things the way that they are. But one of the assumptions of the model is that there's going to be a growth rate, and you make a change to your social distancing, then there's a change to the growth rate, and the model sort of says it's going to just stay at that same growth rate for the entire course of the disease. And as we know, from the time that we had the public health emergency, I think we've all seen everybody get better and better and better at social distancing and how well we're policing ourselves. So it's not necessarily a static. There's a growth rate, and then there's a change to the growth rate, and it just stays like that for the rest of the course of the illness. And that model that they use, it also doesn't really reflect what we're seeing in the rest of the world in terms of the countries that are already far ahead of us in this game. But I agree. They let me play around with the specific model that they used, and it was validated by independent people that are using a similar type of model. And so I don't disagree at all with the approach that they're using for this sort of worst case scenario. At some point, though, I had a friend who said, if you have a model that says the Mets are going to win the World Series, you kind of scratch your head. If they say if they say the Seahawks are going to win the World Series, you're going to say, well, that model's wrong. Yeah. At some point we want to be as realistic as possible too. What is realistic in terms of what we can handle financially, and what is more realistic to be able to advise the governor on, so she can make good decisions for us. Right.
What I'm starting to see pop up, and I don't know if it's concerning or not, is there are people now who are coming out and who are saying they have a problem with the trajectory that was put out there, that maybe it was a little too doomsday messaging. And just if you could give us your take on this. This is from the WhatsApp. Let me just read this message to you here. 20,000 projected deaths with a population of 170,000 assumes an almost 12% mortality rate of every man, woman, and child in Guam got infected. There's no model for that anywhere in the world. Current U.S. mortality rate is 2.5% with woefully inadequate testing. Korea, who has done the most testing, is 1.7%. Diamond Princess, which many scientists hold up as the most reliable study, has 0.5%. That puts the worst case scenario for Guam at between 850 to 4,250 deaths if everyone on the island got infected. Studies show the infection rate is between 1.5 to 3.5%, not 100%. That puts the realistic worst case scenario at between 30 and 150 deaths. And then they go on to say, and this is where I feel like we're going into dangerous water. How do these bogus facts help keep the hospitals and clinics from being overrun? So let's get your response to that.
Sure. Well, I can say that with certainty that the models that they use aren't bogus models. They are tried and proven models that show you how an infection spreads within a community or a population. And again, having had the chance to work with those models, I can say unequivocally that they're true models. But again, it's the assumptions that the models make, and anybody can do some back of the napkin calculations. And I've had people message me all the time and say, hey, what do you think about this calculation? I say, well, yeah, you're making assumptions, and based on those assumptions, it's true. Yeah, what you're calculating is true. But I don't mind our leadership taking sort of a worst case scenario approach to it.
But Dr. Lombardi, do you think that it's so worst case that it's just not believable?
Close. It's close. Mm-hmm. I hadn't, playing with the model enough that I think it was reasonable for them to say, you look around and you say after the first week or two, and how good are we at social distancing? And you wouldn't be too confident about that. So they said, let's say we're doing 30% better job of where we were before we started our measures. And I kind of think that was a reasonable assumption, at least at that time. But maybe it was maybe we were doing a much better job, and I think we were actually. I have a feeling, and I feel like that's what the data is telling us now, is we were doing a better job than just a 30% improvement in how the virus was spreading in our community. What's challenging is even to use the model and to say, well, can you plug in certain parameters that would make it show us what we're actually doing? And there are ways to do that, and that would assume that we are really doing a fantastic job, actually, of social distancing and starting to to suppress this. But you never want to be wrong on the wrong side of this either. So for them to have gone through the level of detail that they did to to come up with all those pictures of the parking lots and taking over different centers and facilities to handle that worst case scenario, I think was appropriate.
Yeah, what I'm worried about is something me and Sabrina talked about last night is when we talk about these numbers and the question I had floated to you is, are they so doomsday that it's not believable? To get that answer that, yeah, I mean, I think it really creates a dangerous mixed message for people because we're telling everyone to take it serious, but when you have people who are saying, oh, it's not going to be that bad, I don't know how we reconcile that with impressing upon everyone that, this is so serious, the governor's got to get the legislature to give her extra powers and, we need to be on lockdown for another month. So, yeah, it's a tricky balance.
It is, and it's just, the key is just to be open and communicate and say, hey, we realize, this is one option. And hopefully, and what we don't know because we don't hear a whole lot from, DPHSS and their epidemiologists. I've heard they've got just fantastic charts and graphs and tables, and
we should share those, right?
If we could see those, and I don't know where they are in terms of changing their models and their assumptions and their predictions for what's going to happen, because we do need to know a little bit more realistically. Okay, it's nice to know the doomsday model, but what's a little bit more realistic, and. Yeah, but this is the question everybody in the world's struggling with. I don't think anybody really knows for sure.
Right. And that's the thing, and that's why I'm taking it serious because I feel like we know we follow this every day, and I know you are too. And I just feel like we yet don't have that clear snapshot. I know that we have numbers to work with, but I think that those numbers are maybe a little skewed in that the way we've been conducting the testing has been really narrowly focused on small groups. So that's why I feel like we just need to still take it serious, and do what we got to do. And if at the end of the day it turns out that 7,000 people didn't die, well, hallelujah, thank Lord.
700.
Yeah.
700,
yeah. And even if we're able to keep the 10% growth rate, that's too high. By the way, we need to be able to bring that down. So, and we're sitting at about a 9-10% growth rate right now. If you take the last 7 days and average them, so we need to continue doing what we're doing and push that down. But at a 10% growth rate, we're at 120-ish cases. We can accept 12 new patients today and still be at a 10% growth rate. But that's too many. So that's kind of what I'm looking like. If it's 12 or less, I'm happy. We're still pushing that 7-day growth rate down. We need to be, I think, in the 4 to 5%, and I think looking more long term, weeks down the road, if we're tracking that 7-day growth rate, I think we're going to want to see that sort of bounce up and down between, as good as 2% up to 9 to 10% again. And if we kind of can just fluctuate in that range, I think we'll give our health system a chance.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Yeah, Doc, keep in touch. You got my number. Shoot me a WhatsApp or whatever. Let me know if you got something you want to share with the audience.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Okay.
Take
care.
Doc.
There you go, Dr. Peter Lombard, a self-described numbers geek who's been crunching these numbers. 8:55. Good morning. Again, coming up, we're going to talk with Claire from Synergy and do a little on-air meditation. Okay, just a heads up. I just want to apologize in advance if I end up falling asleep because that's usually what happens whenever I try and do meditation. 8:55. We're KUAM FM. I got you, Guam. The numbers again: 8 new positive cases. That's the latest out of the Joint Information Center.
A total of 121 confirmed cases, 27 recoveries, and 4 deaths.
Okay, and we're going to take a break. We're coming back with the health chair of the legislature, Senator Therese Terlahi, right here on Containing COVID.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Buenas and half a day. Mabuhay. What's up, Guam? I'm Norm. If you're watching this from home, then great. But if you're somewhere you don't have to absolutely be, please go home and stay there. I know it's difficult for us to change our routines and habits, and personally, I'd rather be with my family and friends dining in a restaurant or going to the movies. But the timing, it's just not right. We're asked to make a little sacrifice now, but in the long run, it'll help to ensure that you and your loved ones remain safe. We're dealing with an unprecedented health crisis, and we need everyone's cooperation. Let's fight the spread of the coronavirus by doing our part to stay home so that Guam can stay safe.
Good day, everybody. I'm Sabrina Sauce-Mazzanati.
And I'm Chris Barnett. Join us bright and early weekday mornings on I-94 for KUAM News' Containing COVID morning radio show. It's also being broadcast live on our KUAM News Facebook page.
You know, we don't want to be doing this forever, and you probably don't even want to listen to us forever. But that's why it's so important that you practice social distancing. You know the drill. Wash your hands.
And stay home! Just stay home!
Stay home!
Ah!
Maila datana tuna si eklau maila data zogi pateta para tamumuzi estinachetro and mangonga kuhir.
9 o'clock, Containing COVID. It's the KUAM News Takeover, Guam's favorite I-94. Of course, we're on the FM radio 93.9 I-94. We're also streaming on the KUAM News app and also at KUAM.com. And we're also on Facebook Live.
Half a day, everybody.
Yes, thank you guys for joining us. Just kind of running through what you may have missed if you just woke up. Well, first of all, congratulations on sleeping in. But dphss.guam.gov, that's the website. The governor, again, has repeatedly told everybody who is struggling, we're talking 15,000 workers, combination of layoffs, furloughs, hours reduction.
And that's just the numbers that we know of today.
Yeah, and so the governor is directing all this traffic over to the Department of Public Health and Social Services. And unfortunately, what we're hearing, and we really hope this is something that they rectify, and I know that Linda called me last night, they added some new lines, but people are saying the same thing. When you call Gov Guam, you didn't hold forever, they don't know, or they got to refer you to someone else. And it's so unfortunate. Right. It is, and the application process, you know, it's not exactly quick and easy, but that's what we have right now.
I think, though, if you have gone through the process, if you were one of those 300 people that did get in, you did get to apply, give us a call and let us know what you went through and what you had to submit to public health. But because we'd like to share that information, and maybe whoever is wanting to apply, we can give them you could give them some advice. But for now, the only number that I have right now is just to call 311, and then the website, which is dphss.guam.gov.
And I put up in the comments on our Facebook live show, and maybe Ken can get that up there again, is there's actually a table of eligibility for SNAP benefits. And just to be clear, and speaking with Tess Archangel, there's no disaster SNAP assistance for people who haven't previously qualified. So you have to look at that chart and figure out your situation, and then I guess first of all find out if you qualify. And you got to get 311, and these caseworkers, they know everything you got to do, and you know sometimes they can wiggle it a little bit to get you in that program. So
there was also something that Rachel Ramirez, she joined us at the start of our program. She's with the Department of Public Health and Social Services ECHO team. She did
tell us that the Division of Senior Citizens, they launched their contract with Health Services Pacific starting today. It's for Menumco 60 years and older that live alone, that don't have transportation. The Health Services Pacific will be providing those services. You need to call 735-3277, 735-3277, or 588-5274. So they will be helping out these Menumco that live alone, and their services are Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 p.m.
All right. I wanted to get the health chair on the line here because somebody had tweeted at me. What worries me, Chris, is no one is talking about ventilators.
Mm-hmm.
Please investigate. Do hospitals here have enough ventilators if we peak out with COVID-19? Are we prepared? Hospitals in the States are claiming not to have ventilators, so the federal government has been sending ventilators to them. Are hospitals here prepared? Do they have enough ventilators?
Well, the White House, the governor on Sunday, she announced that 30 ventilators will be arriving. I don't know if they're here yet, but that's the announcement that she made, that she had gotten a call or had gotten off a call with the White House, and that she was informed that 30 would be on their way. I'm assuming that we're probably going to need more than that.
Right, and so that's why I wanted to bring the Health Chair Senator Therese Terlahi, because, ventilators, she's been talking about, you say no one's been talking about ventilators. You have been talking about ventilators for quite some time now, right, Senator?
Yes, Chris, thanks for calling. And I think because of, and thanks for having Dr. Lombard on. I really appreciate the data that he puts out, and I follow him on Facebook. So I every day he updates that, and I appreciate that very much because I'm not a numbers person really. Mm-hmm. But it's been very clear from the start that if we're going to save lives with in this COVID pandemic, we need ventilators, because at the end of all the suffering that they go through, at the very end, the only thing we have left to help them is a ventilator, and some of them will be able to pull through after being put on a ventilator. Some not, but some yes. And so that's like our last hope. And with the calculations that Dr. Lombard, Dr. Cabrera have been doing, it's very clear that we are going to need much more capacity in ICU and ventilator capacity if we reach the numbers that they're predicting. So we've known from the start that we have too little ICU capacity on island at present, and we need to expand that. So everyone's been working hard on that goal. Expand it and, get more space, rooms at the hospital to fit these ventilators, up at SNU also, and then actually get the ventilators to be put in. And so I was very glad, very, very glad, to hear that the governor said we're going to get 30 from FEMA, because it's really been from the start. Everybody's supposed to be scrambling, where to find these. If you watch national news, you'll see this is like the number one thing that the New York governor reports, that the California governor reports. They're all keeping track of how many ventilators they have, because they know it's going to save lives. And California governor, they talk about where they're getting these things. They're getting them from worldwide. They don't limit themselves to FEMA. Right. In fact, they compare how much they're getting from FEMA versus how much they're getting from every other source, every other company in their state, and any resource. They have, that's what I really admire, that they put down any barrier, and they've said, we're going to save our lives of the people of this state, and we're going to go all out and find these ventilators wherever they are.
Mm-hmm.
Do whatever they needed to do. So, anyway, so.
Have you been privy?
We've been trying, sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was trying to follow up on, do we have this? Do we have this? And it just seems so painstaking that it's slow. And I appreciate that there's a worldwide shortage, right? And so it's a very hard commodity to get. They're very expensive. And but I still think we need to increase our capacity for ventilators. Mm-hmm. The PPE, we still hear about shortages, that they're arriving, there's some on order, and test kits, same thing. Those these three very critical items, we need them now, and we need them to get through any kind of spike that we're predicted to experience. And so I don't know, most recently when I've tried to follow up on where are these items, why do the nurses keep clamoring for PPEs, why don't they have them, why are they saying they're being rationed, all of that. But anyways, at least one person told me that the issue is this, under the current public health emergency law, the governor's authorized to transfer up to $100,000 a month and up to $600,000. And so we're only, in I think the second month that they've been doing this, and so they've only been able to access $200,000.
And that's not enough.
Ventilators, it's not enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to remove every barrier to save lives here, and these are the equipment that are going to save our healthcare professionals' lives and our people's lives. So I put in a bill that says, and I'm hoping that's a bill that we can address during session, that removes that barrier and allows a transfer up to $4 million. And I'll be honest, I pulled that number out of the air based on a number that they had put out earlier, but it's not proven. But I'm saying $4 million because for me, there really should be no price tag if it's really going to save the lives, and bring these three items in at whatever cost they are. And I even put in this bill a provision that says you waive all the procurement restrictions because of how hard they are to obtain. And I don't want them to have to jump through all kinds of hoops. 3 vendors, forget it. You find one, get it, and bring it in. As long as we've got somebody up there who's certifying these are actually good quality equipment.
Right.
Then I say bring it in from whatever source you can find and bring them in as fast as you can. It pains me to hear, we're waiting, and we're waiting, and I'm so afraid of any more deaths. I want to do better for the people that have them here. And if we have too many, then
that's a good problem.
Spend too much money. This is one time, I'm very conservative when it comes to spending money, but this is one time when I'm like, you go all out. Money should never, ever, ever be an option. I mean, or the impediment for getting these three particular pieces of equipment.
I like what you said there, Senator. Yeah, you are, fiscally conservative, and for you to be taking this so serious that you're willing to give the governor that kind of authority to go out and get these supplies that we need, I think it says a lot. I want to go back to the ventilators real quick, though. When we ask about ventilators, the response has kind of been to hold up these 30 ventilators that we're getting, but is it accurate to say that we were at such a deficit before that these 30 ventilators don't really bring, it is because that's what you're saying, but they don't really bring us anywhere close to where we need to be?
Well, they bring us a lot right now for current capacity, a lot. Trust me, that's huge. That's more than what we have on current. We only have island-wide, I think, about 20-some. So that would double our capacity immediately if they actually get here. When it comes to these things, I don't count on it anymore because I've heard so many promises and I want to just see it actually here. So I keep calling them every day. Is it here yet? Do you actually have it? But yeah, that would double the island's capacity.
Yeah. I was just saying, I just find it surprising that the governor doesn't have the authority to use whatever resources that she can just go out and do what she wants during a state of emergency, because the executive order, it's clear when you read it that it says suspension of statutes, orders, rules, and regulations that prevent, hinder, or delay necessary action to respond to the emergency. And that's when she declared the state of emergency.
Right, that's correct. Regulatory statutes she's able to waive by executive order.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is, sure, I think they should have money because, under the regular budget, they've got about, the last time Ed Byrne was down in the legislature, he told us that the 2020 budget, there's about $80 million of regular transfer authority there. So you transfer, to public health or GMH, for example, to purchase. I don't know. For me, that should be able to happen.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't want any impediment or any excuse of why we're not able to get these things.
Okay.
And but the public health statute that you're talking about, Sabrina, it does limit spending to $100,000 a month.
Right.
And just because we know ventilators cost
more than
so much, $30,000 on estimate. So yeah, it's just these are high, and the PPE, we're buying them in huge bulk, so it's expensive.
Yeah. As we should.
Or that's what we want them to do, to buy them in bulk, so we're not like begging every day for more PPE. Yeah.
Right, Senator. I wanted to. Are you can we move over to, because I wanted to ask you about tax refunds?
Oh sure. If I can just finish one.
Yeah, go ahead.
The ventilator. 30 is a lot more. It doubles Guam's capacity, but it's not enough when you look at the estimates by Dr. Lombard and Cabrera. So still not enough. That's why I'm saying we still need to get up to that capacity. Better, safe than sorry. We need to plan for the worst and just have those available.
Right, and that's why I think when we ask these questions about how many ventilators do we have, the response is that we got 30 for DSO. So I'm glad that this is something that because I had somebody who was like, hey, no one's talking about it, and I thought of you, and I'm like, okay,
I wrote them a letter. I wrote the governor a letter just suggesting that for me, I would feel very much more comfortable if in our press releases, every press conferences every day, that they report on every effort to get ventilator, and concrete, like, we were able to secure 5. Those will arrive on this date. That's what I really would like to hear.
Yeah, I saw that letter.
Then I think that our health professionals are going to feel like we've really got their back. We're really going to give them the tools, and they can say, and then we can tie it to why you're staying at home. You're staying at home because we are trying to save lives, and we are waiting for ventilators, right? We're waiting to get some of this equipment in to save more lives, and that's why every person staying at home is so crucial. It's critical because we're buying ourselves time, hopefully, right? That's one of the reasons we're making everyone stay at home.
Right.
But
can I ask you about tax refunds now?
Sure.
So this is something just because I keep getting a lot of calls from friends, family. We're seeing it in the comments, and I know you've been pushing for the early release of processed tax refunds. I just wanted to kind of get a clear picture from you, because I know you're in constant communication with Daphne over at Reventax. People who get the EITC, some of our, working poor, a lot of them file in January, right? And so now I'm getting the calls about people who are wondering how far, how current, up to what filing date are we up to with the processing of tax refunds? What can you tell us about that?
Well, just yesterday there was an announcement that they paid out 248 more tax refunds, and so that was from November filings, right? So from my calculations, so we received a formal report from the Department of Revenue Tax and DOA that as of February 2020, there were 4,398 processed but unpaid tax refunds, right? Tax returns. So I tried to, it makes sense, right? That if we've got unpaid tax returns, that should be our number one priority right now. This is money borrowed from these people, not borrowed, but they overpaid. So it's not our money. We owe them. And of course, the government has given itself 6 months on regular time to pay these back, but I think these are not regular times. It's unconscionable at this point to keep this money any longer than we have to. And so I'm trying to follow up why, we're not paying all of it. If we've got 4,000, that's a lot of people, 4,000 unpaid refunds. So right. I've calculated all their payments that they've made, for the month of March and April. And, I might not be perfect, but I still calculate that there's still 3,000 people, 3,000 returns that are unpaid and processed. And already processed. This is a big thing. They're processed. So all we need to pay this is to cut the check. It's right. That, and it's the process is in place. I think it takes minimal manpower. It's not like we're going to have to call the whole departments back in.
Right.
But you're just going to cut these checks out. They're going to get them, and these are the people. I'm thinking that when they get this cash, this is what they need. This is what they want in order to get the food and in order to protect themselves, get the safety equipment that they need just for their families.
Yeah, and that's something I wish that it would run parallel with what the governor's saying about go apply for food stamps. I just wish there was more of an effort to get you're right, 6 months, and that's what we asked Daphne, and I know Ed Byrne has said the same thing. They hold up that, we're complying with the court order, but I totally agree with you. This is not, a 6 months regular time. They need it yesterday. They need it last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Daphne, I love her as a director. I think if she's there longer, we're going to see a very, very efficient revenue and taxation.
Do we have the money, though, Senator? Because, I wonder if we ask about this, are they going to say, we don't have the money? Do we have the money to pay those 3,000 tax refunds today?
Well, in Ed Burns' latest letter to me, he said we are planning for, this in our cash planning. So, planning to pay them, in time for the 6 months deadline. So they're planning, but I'm asking them to change those plans. I just feel like, people we want to give, they want their money from, the IRS. That's $1,200. we're waiting for that to come in. This is something that can be done today. I swear, today.
Today.
It can be done. Yes, and
Right.
it's just a matter of maybe prioritizing some of the expenses. I don't know what this amount would be, and I know they've been trying, but I just think
Try harder.
we have to reprioritize. Right. This really should be done before anything else. Before we give out any more money,
Right.
why not give the money that it's their money?
Do you have any idea tomorrow what's going to be on the session agenda, and if finances are going to be discussed? Do you guys plan on bringing in, going into the committee of the whole and bringing in Ed Byrne, bringing in Lister Carlson, bringing in Daphne to figure out where we are financially and how fast we can get out whatever local assistance is needed?
I don't know. It's hard for me to predict what exactly is going to happen during the session, but I know that everybody, just from the feeling I get from different people, that they want to be in there as limited time as possible.
So there's no Democratic, there's been no caucus with the Democrats to discuss.
Yeah, we've
okay,
been
we're gonna talk.
caucusing, but I don't think anything's set in stone yet. So but.
Is that different, Senator? If there was an emergency session in regular time, would you guys already know what was on the agenda?
No, not always. It just depends.
But there's a rule here that says you got to submit your.
We set our agenda in a rules meeting. So these are being called, without rules meetings. So that's why it's very hard to predict. And I don't ever want to predict something like that because things change all the time.
But what we see
but what I'm saying is, of course, it's very clear the speakers, responding to the governor's call for those increased restrictions. So I, suspect that's one of the things. And for me, I want this bill that makes sure that they can get that equipment that they need. I'm going to try to amend it if I can to make sure that some of the things that have been talked about and promised that they're also taken care of, because I don't know what's the holdup with these, where they talk about nurses are going to be able to have a place to stay so that they don't have to go to their homes. Those who are COVID exposed, right? That they don't have to go to their homes and expose their families to the virus, that they will have a place to stay. So they put this in place for sure for SNU staff. It's not clear whether it's all in place for everyone that needs it at Guam Memorial Hospital.
Well, Lillian Posada said yesterday during the press conference that it's offered up to all the nurses, but some of them said no because they want to go home to their families.
Yeah.
Correct. No, there's a gap that I think some of them haven't even, they haven't heard the offer.
Right,
so we have to just make sure that those gaps are closed, and I'm sure Lillian's going to do that. But also, even these homeless exposed, we need to move faster on that. And I see the other states how they do this.
We've been talking about
California's rolled out an entire program. They've taken over motels and put the homeless in there because the debate they're having is, of course you can't put them into a gym and put them all in to be congregating. That's not, of course, that's not going to work. We need to find other housing. And I just think we can do this, but we have to.
We keep asking about it, Senator. We've been asking about the plan. We heard. I think it was last week. Could have been the week before. I'm losing track of time. But we had asked about what are the plans. We heard something about a tent city.
Yeah. And then yesterday, the governor was mentioning about how some of them don't. They can't force the homeless people to go in, and so there's a majority that are in Agana, but it wouldn't be just in Agana. It would have to be in all these other places. But you'd have to have a shower. You'd have to have porta potties.
Yeah. But I know that it's something they want to do. We just don't know why they're not doing it.
Yeah, but anyway, so back to session. I'm hoping this bill gets on. I'm hoping that they pay the tax refunds before we go into session, because I'm telling you, if we're going to go into session, talk about unemployment insurance and whatever else. Of course, we want to get those who are suffering as much help as possible.
Right.
But this is just I feel like this is one of those that doesn't need any more mechanisms to be put in place, and that's why it makes so much sense.
And it does.
Otherwise, and I'm trying to push. I also wrote a letter to Reverend Tax and asked them for this federal aid that they're going to receive. Why don't they just, prepare that list right now? They have all the tax return information. They should know, according to the IRS amounts, who's eligible, and just make that list right now. Have it ready to cut checks. If they allow us to be the ones to cut the checks, have that ready so that we can cut the checks the day after they drop that money in. And no delay as to. And I feel like if they prepare a list right now, it's kind of like the tax, the real property tax
Right,
rules,
right, yeah.
that if they prepare that list and they have names and amounts, then everybody can either call up and say, those who are really worried, like, they can call in and say, am I on there?
Right.
And then
yeah.
they can correct the errors now.
Yeah.
In this time that we are waiting for the feds to do their part, we just we correct the errors. So we have an error-free list and we
Right.
cut checks the day one. We don't wait for whatever other days to get that information. I heard this talk about, the bank saying, they didn't like St. Nicholas's proposal because, people would have to come in and make applications. But I'm hoping, man, that Revenue Tax can come up with a way to just avoid that. I feel like they have all that information already. And why should people have to come in and apply? They've already filed their tax returns, and if they're eligible based on tax returns, then they're eligible. And let's just make that list. And then there are some who haven't filed because they weren't required to file, right?
Right.
And those are the people I feel like we really need to help. I want to help them right now to, Daphne says they need to file now, even though they are exempt from filing. They need to file in order to get this. And those are the people I'm hoping we can spend a little bit more time on. In this interim period that we spend a little bit more time just making our list perfect and giving them that assurance instead of, telling them, well, if you're like this and if you're like this, you're going to qualify. I would rather just prepare the list and tell them, yes, according to our list, you're qualified. You're qualified for this much and you're qualified for this much. I hope they can do that. That's something that they can do right away, I'm hoping.
But I appreciate your time, Senator. I just want to go back to what you said about paying out processed tax refunds today, right now. If the governor is saying that, she doesn't want any bills to be introduced that tap into local funds,
yes,
then I agree. I think that if this is something we can do, we should just pay out these tax refunds, get that money out there to people that it's owed to. These are people that could use the cash, and they can't all go apply for food stamps because it's going to take a while. So,
right.
I think the governor's got to put the money where her mouth is and say, hey, if you guys aren't going to spend, if I don't want you to spend local money on local aid, then I'm going to pay out these tax refunds so that we kind of fill that need, because there's a huge need out here.
At least some, that together with the SNAP program and Medicaid benefits over there on that side, hopefully these together are a little bit, a little bit.
Right.
There are also 2,370 unprocessed refunds at the end of February. And this is something I've also asked Daphne, if you're going to bring employees in and you can bring them in safely, can they process refunds, right? I mean, it's always supposed to be our priority is to get these refunds processed. And I'm sure they want to too, Senator. I'm sure there's revenue tax people. They want to come in and they're hearing the cries of the people. Thank you. We got to run. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Take care.
Yeah.
Sabrina, thanks.
Good luck.
All right. Senator Teresa Terlahi, of course, Legislative Health Chair 926.
That was a lot of information.
It was a lot of information. There's a lot of stuff going out. Hey, I want to throw out the website again. The food stamp comments. What we've been told is you call 311. They've stood up a special line. It's like a directory style thing where you press this, press that, and you jump through the hoop, do a backstand, whatever.
Just press whatever the number is that they tell you. I might have it somewhere. But I did want to just add to what you guys are talking about, Department of Revenue and Tax. They're mailing out 248 tax refund checks this week.
Right, yeah.
For $861,200. And this is for on or before November 2nd.
Right, and so that's kind of what they've been saying. We're not saying that they're not paying the tax refunds because there is a court order that they have to pay it 6 months from a filing. We're just saying that that's okay on any given Tuesday, right? And a regular time. This ain't a regular time. Extraordinary times call for extraordinary actions. And that's what we're waiting to see from our government.
And extraordinary people to stand up.
There you go. And I just want to commend all the people who are stepping up out here. I keep thinking about this, and it's a lot to process, but people in all walks of life, all, professions, from, doctors, nurses, on down to, guys who pick up you guys' trash, people who drive the mass transit buses, people who are cooking your meals while you're at work. There's just so many people because we're seeing non-essential people stay home and businesses close, everyone else who's out here, boots on the ground, on the ball field, everybody's stepping up. And I just want to thank you guys. And you just know, like, you guys are in my thoughts, man. I'm praying for you guys every morning. This morning I had to pray for DOC. This is we talked with the Major Anton Uggan, and they're concerned. They're really concerned about the exposure that this cadet who tested positive, may have brought into the facility. And they're doing what they can, and it's just it's a lot to handle for those inmates and detainees, the corrections officers. Man.
Yeah, and I know someone personally who's had contact with the person that tested positive, so I'm concerned about him, and I'm concerned about his family. They do have children, and so
right.
I hope that everything works out for them.
Yeah, stay home, guys. Stay home. If you're staying home, if you're feeling the symptoms, you call the doctor. But again, that's why we have to stay home, because the government of Guam and Magahaga are telling us to assume that we all have COVID-19, okay? And that's why it's important to stay home, because if we all have it and we're all going around hee-hee, ha-ha, gallivanting, we're spreading it. Mm-hmm. And so, again, that's why we have the power to kill the curve. Yep. Democrat, Republican, Independent, no matter what, no matter what you want to do in the bedroom or anything, no matter what, all walks of life, we have the power.
Right. If you have to go out, and especially if you have to go to the grocery store, make a list first. And maybe even just get extra for the next couple of weeks. You don't have to go out every other day or every other week. Get enough supplies really to last. Right now, this public health emergency declaration is in effect till May 5th.
Right. Yeah.
So get what you need, plan ahead, and then stay home.
There you go. And if you don't have to go to the store, if you got to eat that, can of pork and beans with Vienna sausage and, something, then do it. We gotta plan ahead. Dig deep, man, and apply for food stamps.
Yeah, these numbers are continuing to rise. We don't know how much more we need to tell you that you need to take it seriously. Every day that I go home, I look at my son from 6 feet away, and it's really sad and it's really depressing, because I really want to run up to him, hug him so tight, and kiss him, and all of that I usually do, but I can't.
Okay, let's take a break, Bree. We'll come back with containing COVID. I think it's a good time to practice some meditation.
Yeah, but we need to check in with Adriana and Nestor.
You're right.
When we go.
Okay, so we'll do this break real quick, and we're going to come back with the awesome KUAM news team and find out what they're working on for you guys this morning. I want to give you more info now on our Holy Week Easter broadcast of Masses. It's 9:30, containing COVID.
KUAM Communications.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
We've been your one-stop printing for all your needs. Call us today. Located in Tamuning across the Lupang Beach Tower. Call us at 649-4581. Victoria Printing and Graphics. Let us help you with your company printing needs. Trusted on Guam for 30 years.
This one's going out to that south side. Team Caps.
Shout out to our local artists. We're doing another Stay Home Living Room Live Local Fridays this Friday. Man, it was such an awesome show. Honestly, I'm so emotional. When I watched that one, I just cried a little bit. There might have been Finideni in my eye. I'm still trying to figure it out. But to know that these artists are, they're staying home and they're so inspired to make music for everybody. And I don't know if it's because they just want to make music or if they understand how much people are depending on them for release of all of this anxiety and this frustration and this fear, And
I'm excited because in this show, we've got Guamanians from all around the world that are actually going to be performing.
Yeah.
And we're really grateful that they've decided that they would want to, participate.
Yeah.
And so it's actually going to be a really good show. The show, I think I'm going to kind of change a little bit the direction of the show, just a little bit.
Like what?
We're still going to have music.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you going to have some dancing or something or what?
No. It's live local Fridays. It's our local musicians. Maybe you're going to dance. I don't know.
I don't know about it. I'll do my popsicle dance.
Your man meat dance.
Man meat dance.
Yeah.
So it's really awesome. And to the local artists, keep doing what you're doing. That's exactly what we need. I mean, I know you guys got fans, but people are it's a captive audience. People need to do things to pass the time. And it's like Bob Marley said, when I hit you with music, you feel no pain. It definitely takes your mind off some things. So congratulations and thank you so much to the local artists. And that's Friday. What time is that, Bree?
It's Friday at 6:30 on KUAM TV8.
All right. Well, let's go to the phones where we have KUAM's Nestor Lecanto standing by. Good morning, Nestor.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Good morning, Bree.
Hey, you've been up early today. You got a lot of things that you've been working on.
Yeah, I've been following.
Kapada everyone, and hello mga kababayan. Nestor Lecanto here from KUAM News. Just wanted to remind you all that we are in the midst.
Secretary of the Navy, Thomas Modly. As most folks have probably heard by now, he's actually stepped down. He kind of, I guess, sealed his fate right here on Guam when he made this very impassioned speech to the crew of the Teddy Roosevelt, and he called the very popular former captain of the ship too naive or too stupid to be a commander. And he was blamed. Yeah, that's the famous quote, and that kind of sealed his fate.
Yeah.
So Defense Secretary Mark Esper announced that he had accepted the resignation, and he has appointed Army Undersecretary Jim McPherson, who actually happens to be a retired admiral.
Oh, wow.
The next acting...
Matt Ness, this story was the epitome of a rapidly evolving situation.
It was rapid. That's for sure.
It's so rapid that when I went on to anchor the news, I started reading the story, and it was that he had made the speech, and then by the time I got to the end of it, it was like, wait a second, he resigned? What? Huh?
You go, where was I?
What happened?
Yeah, the speed of how this story evolved is definitely
right, because if he made the SoundCloud audio went out, then he apologized and then he quit.
Yeah,
right. That's
we've got copies. God bless the internet.
Yeah, yeah, and
you can find it.
And I think that was a good, and I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm pretty sure he was told to step down, but I think it was a good look. If you listen to his comments, they were just way the hell out there. You know what I mean? There was all kinds of stuff that was just troubling. But to throw Captain Crozier definitely is slam dunk a COVID hero. But the way that he threw him under the bus, and you could hear Ness in the in the sailors, right? And so this recording, these sailors were listening to this speech and they were reacting. There was one where,
gosh,
yeah, he had said something about Captain Crozier, and then one of the sailors, you could hear him. He was like, "What the f?"
Yeah, we had to.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And so it was.
Yeah, you're right.
It was crazy because you could hear the crew reacting in real time to the stuff
Upset.
the secretary, and they were, and you know, when the governor talks about they got to maintain order, these guys are so upset that that wasn't even, you know, part of their thought process. They're just reacting in real time.
For him to speak like that, though, oh
Crazy.
gosh.
Yeah.
You know what's ironic, I think, is that, you know, when the secretary was talking to their troops, he was talking about how Brett Crozier was naive or too stupid to think that this would get out in this age of
Exactly.
of you know,
Information.
and then that's how this came out.
Karma.
What was that he said? It's because he wasn't naive and dumb and stupid. And
So what's going on with session? Are you hearing anything like what's going to be on the agenda?
Well, no, not yet. I was thinking they might be in caucus, but I heard Senator Teresa on your air, so I'm not sure what the deal is. We've got in our requests for updates on what will specifically be on the agenda. I was listening to Senator Moreland talking earlier, and he doesn't know either, but he's got an idea based on, you know, the people, the sponsors. He's got an idea of what he thinks will be on the agenda. But as for the official agenda for tomorrow's session, we don't have it.
wow, I'm anticipating that this is going to be one to watch, and I wonder if there's going to be a power move made. You know, I wonder if these and it all comes. It's the math, right? So it's always been the case where, you know, Speaker Tina has her gang. And, you know, they kind of just ram stuff through. So I'm curious right now. I know that these senators, they understand that people of Guam, we're staying home and we don't really have anything to do but watch you. And so I
hope it's streaming.
Yeah.
I think they're well aware that all eyes are going to be on them, especially among people that are in need right now. And there's a lot of them that are in need of help. And so, yeah, it's going to be a very, you know, it's going to be a very critical session. Absolutely.
You can watch them on television, or you can watch them streaming on their YouTube channel. So for those of you that are out there listening.
Yeah, but as soon as we get a copy of the agenda, then of course we'll share that.
Yeah. Okay, Nessa, anything else you want to add? Anything else you're working on for today that you want to share with us?
That's it for now.
Don't you know he has enough?
That's plenty. No, I know. That's plenty.
It's just continually developing.
Rapidly evolving.
Rapidly evolving.
All right.
Thanks, Ness. There you go. Nestor Leconto. And you talk about people who have stepped up, man. He has stepped up, and he's been very consistent. And
yeah, waking up early, too, just to monitor all of this that's going on. And, you know, our work is kind of tripled because we're trying to monitor what's happening D.C., what's happening with the Department of Defense, what's happening here, what's happening there. And I'm really proud of our team.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm proud of our audience. And, you know, you guys can help us out, too. All this information that you get on the show, you know, share it. Sometimes I hear, you know, these press conferences, sometimes when I hear the question the other media has, I'm like, man, I feel like that was addressed already. So just for you guys out there, watch the show, get the information. I mean, we're speaking to the people who know what's up, and, you know, they're in that position to say these things. So share the broadcast and go back and watch it. Remember that we take this 4-hour show and we break up all the interviews and put them in a format for you guys to share. You know, one that was going around yesterday that I was getting some messages on was our talk with Father Paul Guffigan.
Yeah, that was really emotional. And it's kind of, if you didn't watch it, it was about the
unclaimed bodies.
Yeah, the Arimathea Society. They're asking for donations so that they can continue to build coffins to bury these unclaimed bodies. And they had buried, I think, 11 over the weekend, and they're going to bury another 2 next week after Holy Week. Yeah. And they're clearing out the Guam Memorial Hospital morgue.
Yeah, and that was kind of the underlying reason why they're doing so many of these burials at this time. And it was very, very emotional, you know. 9:42. Let's get Adriana Cotero. We talk about, you know, people who have stepped up. Definitely education is been something that a lot of people have been asking about. The decision came down that classes for the rest of the school year are canceled. Adriana, what we wanted to ask you about was I just got a call. DOE staff being told to go into work to prepare these, what is it, lesson plans, or is it something with distance learning? Can you just tell us, what do you know about that?
Yeah, good morning, guys.
Hi.
So when it comes to the distance learning, as far as I know, just in speaking with Superintendent John Fernandez, it is not graded, but the educators are providing weekly lesson plans on there. So in order for students to just use it as a way of enrichment purposes and continue to learn throughout, even though school's not in session and that the school year is canceled.
Is it an option, though, for teachers who, are they required to submit this or go into DOE and drop off all this information, or can they opt not to do it? Just curious.
I don't know the
how this
details
works
on that, but I do know that whenever they had mentioned the distance learning, they were saying that it was going to be a district-wide approach. So as far as I know, I don't think that it's all educators going in and as far as I know, I don't believe so, but I do know that they're providing lesson plans.
Right.
Well, there's a meeting today, though, right? There's a Guam Education Board meeting?
So,
do you know what's on the agenda?
So GDOE, just earlier this week, they announced that the superintendent made the announcement that they are ending the school year early, and that was effective immediately, and that was more and so in line with the fact that the lockdown was continuing until May 5th, and that there's been such an uptick in the more confirmed cases. So superintendent did make the call to end classes, cancel fourth quarter sports, and that's for the rest of the school year, which was calendared to officially end the 28th, but classes would have ended May 22nd. So whenever they're meeting today with the Guam Education Board, they'll be focusing in on discussions to suspend certain board policies that will go in line with ending the school year. So these policies are up for discussion, are mainly including grading. So this is the proposal that we have mentioned prior that GDOE came up with when it came to grading, which is giving any student that was, giving all students across the board the third semester grade that they had, and then if they were failing a class, they get a 60%, and then if they were in AP classes, then they'll receive credit as well. So it'll be that 10%.
Okay, Adrian, I want to just jump over to private schools. A lot of people are so unhappy and complaining about this, having to pay tuition, private school tuition. I know you spoke with the Catholic school superintendent, Dr. Juan Flores, yesterday. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, so I did speak with Mr. Flores yesterday in regards to that, and I had asked him about that because I know that there have been many concerns just why they still do have to pay tuition, and he was saying that he believes that all the principals are being reasonable by means, and that people should contact them, and that they will take this into account, and that could mean postponing payment. However, as we know with private schools, there's 14 Catholic schools on the island, and they work independently. So there isn't any sort of protocol in regards to this across the board. Each school is handling it within their own payroll means, and within, they follow their own, even with classes, and right now in their distance learning, they have their own curriculum that they're following. So there isn't anything across the board, but he did say that to contact the principals. He said that anyone that is struggling financially to reach out to the principals immediately, especially if they need to postpone any payment. So if people are reaching out to the principals and the principals are not responding, then of course that is something else we do need to look into, and that then maybe that'll mean contacting all the different private schools.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know you guys can't see I'm laughing here. I'm not trying to make fun of your situation, but I know a private school parent who's got a problem. They're paying the tuition, it's full tuition, and teachers just keep sending assignments, and now this parent is saying, hey man, I'm paying all this tuition, and I'm basically a teacher now. So,
yeah,
there's got to be they should do. If I'm the superintendent, if I'm running, I'm going to say, hey, let's do 50%. Because you're doing the work. We're just giving you the assignments. I don't know.
Right.
It's not a good. It's not a good look that the church is asking people to pay full tuition. I know that they can do the payment plans or anything, but everybody else on this island is deferring things.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand, and that was another question that I did bring up to him. Also, is that their parents may not be home to help their kids out during this time. There are first responders, there are frontline workers, and even so, even if parents are home, are they supposed to start homeschooling? So
that's essentially what they're being asked to do. Is they're sending about a Bible high stack of homework and assignments. Meanwhile, mom and dad, maybe they're working in an essential business, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe they're a nurse, a doctor, a frontline, a responder. They come home, they're just dealing with everything that's going on, and then Junior got 5 hours worth of homework. I mean, it is what it is, and I know we always talk about putting the onus on the parents, but this is a new world we're living in right now.
It is. It definitely is. So, whenever I did bring that up to Dr. Flores, he said that he encourages the students to reach out to their teachers for help. But of course, if parents aren't, how are you going to have a child reach out whenever they could be doing something else on their phone or something during the day, right?
Right.
So that's what he said, to reach out to the different teachers if they have any questions. But he also did say that as far as he knows, that the teachers are aware that they're not sitting at a desk for 45 minutes or and they're not there present, and they're doing online schoolwork. So they're taking that into account, is what he had told me.
Right.
But
my thing is, though, my son does go to a Catholic school, and I have been trying to work with the school. I work 12 hours a day, and when I get home, I have to decontaminate myself, and then I have to I have to help him with his homework from 6 feet away, which is kind of, difficult to do. Especially when
is he in danger of flunking because you got to juggle this huge everything that you got going on? I mean, are they still holding that standard that if you don't turn in this again, like I said, Bible high stack of homework, sorry, you're gonna have to repeat the grade?
I don't know if he's in danger of flunking. I'm scared that he might flunk, but I shouldn't have to worry about that. But I'm trying my best to keep up with his homework and turning in what he has to be turned in, art projects and things like that. I got to do all that. Yeah. And I'm trying, and I applaud the teachers that they're sending out the lessons plans, and I just can't participate sometimes in Zoom when I'm working.
But they got a Zoom.
But kudos to them, and but there are other people that are that are questioning, why do we have to continue paying, whether it's a reduced rate or any kind of rate, when they're not going to school. But
I expect more compassion from the church. You know what I mean? They're I mean, it's Holy Week, man. Why are we talking about this? They should have the compassion. And I mean, I know they got the memo. We're forced to this position where we're doing the virtual masses, and everybody. I know they know, and I think if we keep talking about this, I think what it's going to happen is it's going to force their hand. And so let's keep talking about this, and then maybe we could get some kind of reaction, some kind of deferral. Adriana, I know there's other things you're working on today. Quickly, you want to bring us up to speed on those?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be covering the Guam Education Board, but real quick, if I could just mention, as far as the Catholic schools goes, real quick, as far as I know too, grading has not changed. Just so we are clear. When it comes, students are going to be receiving report cards. So
you hear that, Bree?
So grading, yeah. So whenever I did ask that question, he said, "Great, there is no change as far as I know with the grading policy." And that also brings another aspect to look at, is that now students are being told to take these classes online, and that's not always easy for some people. I even remember myself in college struggling at times, just getting distracted and having to take courses online. So I really do feel for some of these younger kids that are being told that they have to do that now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, for anybody who wants to watch her interview, you can watch it now on our YouTube channel. It's also posted on our Facebook page, her interview with also John Fernandez from earlier this week, and her interview with Juan Flores. Thank you.
And we also had the Harvest Christian Academy as well on there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Adriana, thank you so much.
Yeah, you too. You guys. Bye.
Bye.
You say miss you.
I know.
I miss you.
I miss you guys. I was thinking this morning, I miss you guys. I don't know if I ever got to tell you, Adriana, but I enjoy working with you. Yeah.
Our
This isn't
bubbly
goodbye.
personality.
It's not goodbye.
I know.
Shut up. Segment. I was in tears yesterday morning watching.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you weren't the only one.
I know.
Okay, thank you.
But I do miss you guys. All right. Bye.
Okay, air hug, right on. Wash your hands. 9:53. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and close out the show with some meditation. I think we all need it. I think we over need it. So we're going to check out Claire Calvo with Synergy and close this Containing COVID broadcast with a little bit of peace of mind, hopefully. Good morning.
Sure to check out
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Make it what you want.
9:55, Containing COVID. The KUM News Takeover, Guam's favorite, I-94.
I'm excited about this.
Me too, so excited. I don't know how excited we're supposed to be if it's meditation. Claire, are we allowed to be excited about meditation or?
Oh my gosh. Every morning I wake up, I'm excited to get to this, believe me.
So let's just talk about, I mean, I've been following you, friends on Facebook. I see what you're doing with the dancing and stuff. I think it's really cool. Maybe before we get into this, can you kind of talk about how, Synergy and other, custom fitness, we're seeing that all of these people who do valuable work in keeping our island healthy and fit and encouraging people to, get out there and do stuff. I really, again, like the local musicians, I don't know if you guys know how much people need it, but it's definitely something that, so tell us about that, when you made that decision that, hey, I want to start doing these lives and getting this out to people.
Well, pretty much as soon as we were given the directives that we could not operate, Synergy basically, actually we made the choice beforehand to close the doors, especially, because of our staff, instructors, and everyone, right, our members. One moment, JP. But, so almost immediately I'm so used to, I've been doing this for decades. So I'm so used to every day having, teaching and being around the Synergy family and the community. And so for really, part of it is selfish because it was something I needed. I needed that sense of community and the connection, because I feel like although we're no longer together, just like with the church, we're no longer going to church, but we are the church, right? We're still commuting together. Everyone's, watching, for the most part. People are either tuning in to the masses and the same thing goes for fitness. I feel, social media has been a great tool for us to stay connected, because even though we're physically separated, we're still, we're spiritually connected and we're socially connected. And that's why I don't even like saying social distancing. I say physical distancing, because I feel, if anything, these past weeks have brought us closer socially.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting viewpoint. And I've kind of done the same thing at, a lot of times just so busy to even think about my social media, but I really feel like I want to connect with people and share with them. And, obviously we have this huge platform, but I think you're seeing a lot of people just kind of flock to social media as this like virtual meeting place where we can gather, where we don't have to be 6 feet apart, where we can just be, and so I definitely see what you're saying. On to the meditation. Just generally tell us about the benefits of meditation and how people have an idea of what it is, and maybe reconcile that with what it really is.
Yeah. Well, meditation has been around for thousands of years, right? You've heard of the sages and the gurus and just monks and whatnot, and of all different disciplines and practices. And I think just more recently, they've done a lot more scientific research, because, as humans, we need to have the facts, right? And see the numbers and know that there's actual some sort of concrete benefit. So, but it's been done for years, for spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical well-being. But what they've found is that you could actually gauge the benefits from testing, right? So they've done scans to show the increased activity of certain parts of the brain, decreasing anxiety and depression, and specifically those two, because right now with meditation, the whole goal is to keep you in the present moment. It's called mindfulness meditation, right? Is to stay focused in the moment, because they have found that when you're so focused on the future, that causes anxiety and stress, and if you're focused so much on the past, that could create depression and as well anxiety as well, but primarily depression. And I think those two things are so many people are probably experiencing, especially now. So which I feel, I'm sorry. And so everything from being able to measure alpha waves to find that sensations of sadness, anger, and negative moods can actually be suppressed or actually eliminated or lowered, and the other things involving like the amygdala are actually decreased. That's about fear and stress and blood pressure, whereas other parts of the brain, they show the gray matter density is higher, where there's emotional intelligence, relaxation, memory. So, there's actual scientific, and I think most importantly, especially now with everyone kind of focusing on this virus, we want to make sure that we're healthy holistically, right? Mentally, emotionally, and physically. And there's studies upon studies that show how meditation actually affects the systems of the body, everything from your immune system to your endocrine system to these major parts of the body that help regulate our overall well-being. So it's been important for me, especially because now I find that living with two 86-year-olds and a son, I want to be extra cautious. So I even found with myself feeling, if I have a scratch in my throat or if, I feel like exhausted, I'm like, oh my gosh, and once I fear that panic come in, I know my go-to tool is meditation.
So let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get right into it.
All right. So just sit comfortably and close your eyes and seal your lips, and we're just going to inhale and exhale through the nose. All right, so nothing fancy, nothing forced, simply just breathing in and out through the nose. And just becoming aware of the movement of your chest. With each inhale, feel the chest rise and expand. And with each exhale, you'll feel the chest drop back and collapse. And just be mindful that the breath, the length of the inhale is the same length as the exhale. So it's this balance, receive and release. And maybe bring to mind anything with each exhale, what you would like to release. Anxiety, fear, sorrow, grief, whatever it may be. And with each inhale, so with each release, you're making space for a receiving. And so with each inhale, what you would like to receive. Maybe calmness, hope, compassion. And just take this at your own pace, following your breath. inhaling something you would like to receive. And with each exhale, what you would like to release. And now bring your breath down, lower to the lower chambers of the lungs. So instead of the chest, you'll feel your belly rise and fall. With each inhale, the belly will rise and expand like a balloon inflates. And with each exhale, feel the belly draw back and exhale as you deflate. And the same concept of inhaling what you would like to invite in. And with each exhale, release and let go whatever you would like to release, let go, and be free from. And so you could just follow this breath for the entirety of the meditation, or you could call in, maybe visualizing golden light pouring from the crown of the head, and just visualizing golden light starting from the crown. And each part of the body that this golden light touches, just feel a sense of calm, a sense of peace, a sense of presence and protection. And until your entire body is filled with this golden light, just continue to feel the sensation as you visualize the golden light touching every cell, every organ, ounce, and fiber of the being. And once the entire body is encompassed with the golden light, you could expand it outward as if it's a shield or protective layer or bubble around you, so that any kind of negative or lower vibration that comes towards you, you could reflect it off, bounce it off, but anything of a higher frequency of compassion or connection, you could actually absorb and, again, also release. And so just continue to hold this vision, the intentions with each inhale and exhale. You can go on basically as long as you need to, and when you're ready to come back, you bring your focus back to your breath. Again, bringing to mind all that you've called forth and all that you've released and let go. And in gratitude, one more full deep breath. And exhale, you can open your eyes.
Man, I needed that, Claire.
Good. I'm glad that I would have gone on longer, but
I know.
We need longer. Maybe.
I'm like 30 minutes, maybe 30 hours.
Well, tune in. There's so many wonderful, there's great sources for meditation out there locally, and of course, the Deepak Chopras and all that. But yeah, just go on YouTube. There's a ton of different.
Right. Have you done a live meditation, Claire?
I have. I've been, once I figured out, because I'm really technologically elementary. So once I figured it out, I did some on Facebook and Instagram Live.
Nice. I want to thank you for that.
Thank
really,
you.
I mean.
Well,
wow.
Thank you guys. I can't imagine being in your shoes. You're gathering all the information and disseminating it, and I'm sure you guys really have a lot of stress, just constantly inundated with this information.
Well,
so
we're all under a lot of stress these days. I know you're taking care of your parents, and you got your boy. I can hear him in the background.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Claire.
Thank you, guys.
I just want to thank you for, you took me away there for a few minutes, and I really was just listening to what you said. I know you said golden glow. I don't know why. For some reason, I was seeing the color purple.
Oh, yeah. So whatever color. Wow, Chris, that means you're highly intuitive. Purple is like the 7th chakra.
He just Googled that.
Come on, Bree. Don't hate, Bree. Don't hate. You got to get on my purple level. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you. You guys make it a great day.
All right,
safe.
you too. Yeah, be safe. Wash your hands.
Bye.
Okay. Oh, man.
Meditate.
Now I'm going to Google it.
Purple.
All you're going to hear for the rest of this is just purple. Hey, Guam, our listening audience, I hope you joined us in that. That is just, one way that...
That was awesome.
It was, and it really does work. You find that solace, especially since everybody should be staying home. You should have that place in your house where, if you got to lock the kids in the room for 5 minutes, do it, Thank you guys so much for watching. And again, I just want to let everyone out there know, to all of our nurses, to all of our doctors, to everybody who works in a clinic, a lab, all of our government responders from the Department of Public Health to the Guam Police Department, especially keeping the Department of Corrections in our prayers this morning. And, also to the governor and her people who continue to wake up every morning and they have to make these tough decisions. We're praying for all of you guys every day. And
all the people at the Joint Information Center that have to actually, they're the first pass through. The information goes to them, then we get it, and then we pass it out to the community. We know they're working hard.
Right, and I kind of had that moment this morning where I said, we need, I wanted to take a moment to close the show and to just get us all on the same page. We're all in this together. God bless you, Guam. And remember, we have the power to kill the curve of COVID-19. Okay, so do your part, stay home. Do the social distancing, wash your hands frequently, and
wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Mask up, all right? We got this, Guam. It's 10:08. This has been Containing COVID, the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite I-94.
Bye.
See you. Wow, si Chris. Está. Adios.